Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream on October 8th, 2023. I have a very special guest with me, Andrew. He is a very new friend and a very interesting human being as well. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi there. My name's Andrew Ostrihon. I'm a 21-year-old transsexual man from Augusta, Georgia. I'm a horticultural technologist. I've been in the game for about 11 years. Um, and this would be my sixth year in politics.
Wow.
Very long time. Very long time.
Very impressive, though. I've only started the politics game, and so he has agreed to do this live stream with me, and I'm so honored to have him here because he was actually at this panel.
Yeah,
So tell us a little bit, like, set the
unfortunately.
scene. What was it like?
Well, I mean, first of all, right, obviously I'm chilling and Sarah Higdon walks in the fucking room. So naturally I'm already shitting a brick, okay? But I was like, "Hello, you're one of my heroes." And that was really cool. And then I saw this pretty woman strolling up to us and it took me a second and I was like looking at her and then my jaw dropped because I realized who I was looking at and this woman was Blair White. Blair
Wow,
White.
the queen.
Yeah, literally. I was like, okay, well, I'm no longer scared at all
Yeah, well,
because
how did they approach you with this? It must have been scary.
I had no idea that Blair was coming. I had no idea. Well, I had no idea who was going to be on the panel. There were some people that did, like Blair and Sarah, obviously because they're friends, they knew they were going to be there. I don't think anybody else knew that Blair was coming. Um, yeah, it was certainly surreal to see my hero like standing right in front of me. It was very surreal. And then the clowns started rolling in.
Yeah, I
Um,
could see a clown right here.
I mean, and here's the thing, right? I had an utmost respect for some of these people walking into this room. Like I knew the clown. I'm familiar with this man. I'm familiar with Blossom. You know, and I had an utmost respect for Blossom. But by the time I'd left that room, it was like it was gone. It was all gone. It's like, okay, well, I'm ready to go back to Georgia.
So,
Literally.
first impressions, did you feel like it was gonna be crazy?
Well, just judging by the group of people that we had, like all the conservatives were just these regular ass like I think one of my favorites at least, aside from my hero, had to be the soccer mom. Um, and I call her a soccer mom, and I love her name's Jessica Gill. She is like I thought she was an angel, honestly. And she's just very soft spoken, but I felt like she got her point across pretty well.
All right, so who's the liberals? Who are the conservatives?
So on the conservative side, you've got Blair White, you've got Jessica Gill, she's a smaller creator, fairly new. You've got Sarah Higdon, who's a vet, love
Love
her.
Sarah. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
I would
awesome.
I would totally die for her.
She's so
Um,
sweet.
Obviously, I'm on the right, and then on the left, I don't even know any of their names besides Blossom. I don't even know. Like I don't even know. Like I know of the makeup artist obviously because I thought his look was just very outstanding and cool. Um
Hmm.
Aside from that, he kind of made himself look like a clown.
Yeah, it's very it kind of reminds me of art pop.
Did you see what Blair Did you see in the comments where she was like, when I said there was a clown there, I was being literal like some honk honk shit?
Yeah. Wild.
It was like unhinged. Fucking iconic is what that was.
All right, well, I'm excited to jump into this.
Yeah, I've been putting it off since damn noon.
Oh man, all right. Yeah, I bet you're excited to see what they all put together. So yeah, let me know if levels are okay, audio levels on your end, and let's begin.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Being a non-binary person that sometimes has the choice to either go into a men's restroom looking like this. So you can look at me looking like this.
It's just interesting that I thought this was a trans debate. That's what I thought.
Non-binary people.
Non-binary
I
people
will
fall
fall
under the trans
I will
umbrella.
say.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you could educate yourself a little bit on that.
I think I
and
could
maybe
educate
then you would
you.
figure
I think I
out,
could educate
you know, what
right?
reality is.
Oh,
Sure,
whoa,
there's
whoa,
a
whoa, whoa. What a great start.
It is a safety concern for trans women to share a female restroom. Can the agreeers please step forward?
Before we begin this episode, we know there's been a lot of anticipation for this topic.
That is
Okay,
why
skip
we're
all
excited to
this.
release an extended cut of this episode.
Is this like their intros?
This is something
Yeah,
that you guys
they're
have been
just-
asking us about for years.
Did you get an
and we'll
intro?
finally be able to do it. And when you support our Patreon,
I don't think. No, this is their. I don't even know. They're just talking. Really, they're not really. They're just saying we released an extended episode in 15 sentences, basically.
Okay, Stream is saying that the video is actually very low for them. So
Okay.
if you can right click on your end and then you can turn down the volume.
Okay, here we go.
Are you able to do that?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
It depends.
How's that?
So I think that to start it off though too is
that
it's not
okay?
necessarily saying that
Okay.
trans women. It all comes down to self-ID. When we moved into a self-ID process, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of men, just simply self-IDing into being trans women to utilize the female restroom and to harm women. I think
Or
that's the
just
biggest
be
thing.
there. They're getting arousal from just being there.
You know, there was a photo or it was a video that went viral, I think like just 2 weeks ago, with some like whole man with a boner in the women's restroom. And there's
Oh,
just
look
some
at
poor
you.
woman filming it. Like, am I just supposed to like accept that this is here? So I
I'm
think
just,
there's
like, in
levels to
awe.
it. I think that trans women
Like God
who
is
are
sitting in front of me
actually trans, you
speaking.
know, we're
It's-
talking gender dysphoria, transitions, making the effort, you know, probably once you
Trying
reach
to
a certain
keep a
point in
straight
your
face,
transition
trying-
where you can actually assimilate
can
within that
see
space
it.
and not cause a disruptance.
There's
that would
like so
probably be
much
the
going
ideal
on
time to
behind my
start doing
eyes,
that,
and you
right?
can tell.
Whereas, you know, a cross-dresser who is emboldened to, in this current climate, say that they're trans, because now anything is trans if you say so, that person should probably stay absolutely out of women's restrooms, because you're there to get your rocks off and the women are there to take a poop and a pee. So it's not the same. And you know, I really empathize with women who, you know, have an issue with it. And I can probably hear some women commenting, well, how do I know the difference between a fetishist and a real trans person? It's hard. It's hard. However, that's the only nuance that I know to give to it, which is there's different reasons people are trans, and some people really are trans because they're horny, and some people are trans because they really felt that way from, you know, a young age or whatever.
See, I agree to an extent. Like, when you go to transition, and this is a fairly universal experience, you know, once you get to a certain point of passing, that's about the time that you would start going into the other bathroom, as opposed to not make the same sex uncomfortable. Once you reach that point in your transition, a lot of things change, but you know, you start to see things from another perspective. You start to see things from the perspective of a cis person.
Yeah.
And I actually offer some solutions to this because I believe the free market can handle all of this stuff, because in government-run and government-funded buildings, there should always be a third space for us to use. And I do. When I go to the Capitol and stuff like that, I always use third spaces. But I think that private property owners can make the rules for their establishment and figure out how to enforce those rules.
I mean,
but
I
they're
wouldn't
not-
say
they're not
third
being allowed,
spaces for
though.
trans
Exactly.
people.
Like,
just
we're in a state right
general.
now. We're in a state right now where you have to allow anybody to use whatever restroom they want.
If you're a decent human being, you do what causes the least disturbance. So for example, I filmed a YouTube video a few years ago where I entered a men's restroom just because I was responding to comments who were like, well, maybe you should use a men's restroom if you really feel like the way you feel. And so I said, okay, let's do it. Let's put a camera. And I was kicked out within seconds of the entire establishment, and it was a whole ruckus. So that's what I mean by, if you're a decent person, you do what causes the least amount of problems for people around you. And if you're, you know, a moral person, you're going to be conflict avoidant in general when it's something like that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what's the point of causing issues for anyone, especially if you're really just trying to pee,
Honestly, just put
get
your
it
head
done.
down, go in, get out.
Right.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
Here they come. Yeah, no, literally before the debate, like I was talking to Jessica as well, and she felt like she didn't get her point across enough. I was like, you don't have to talk a lot to get your point across. Just because you were reserved and quiet, and you waited until you had something constructive to say, that doesn't mean like that you were any less informative in the debate. It just it means that you might be the only one on this motherfucking panel that is inherently feminine.
Sorry, chat. I didn't realize I was muted. I was saying how intelligent they all sounded, from Andrew to Blair to the pistol wielding cowgirl Sarah. They all sounded so intelligent when they speak. Obviously they have a really good group of people here. So let's see what the other side has to say.
Here they come.
I want to comment on Blair's point. The one thing I kept hearing through all of the nuance is passability.
Yeah, of course.
Because
Okay.
ultimately, when we talk about passability, it determines how you get harassed in the bathroom. Because honestly, if you don't look so passable or whatnot, people are going to say, oh, that's a man with a dress on, and then there's going to be discourse. But the reality of it is, honestly, who cares who's trans and who's cis going in the bathroom? You should be minding your own
by the
business,
way,
being able
by the
to
way,
pee and do
this
your
is a
business
this
in
is a
peace
preface.
for the most
If
part.
by the time this video was over, if she had said the fact of the matter is one more time, I was gonna blow my fucking brains out.
Oh, really?
Oh my god, she just throws around buzzwords and subjective bullshit constantly, and it's and it becomes like repetitive, and it's like, are you a broken fucking record, dude?
Oh, I can't wait to hear I can't wait to hear the oppression Olympics from this one.
You can just watch the conservatives start sweating more and more throughout the video.
Oh, man.
Okay.
that conversation around this man with a boner on or whatever like that, I saw that picture and I thought to myself, that's really a right-wing talking point and conservative propaganda, because that's their ideology
How is it
when
It
it
was a
comes
thing
to
that
trans.
happened.
I'm speaking. That's their ideology when it comes to trans, is because trans
Wow.
He's
are-
so
conservatives
fucking
have a
rude,
basic
dude.
Yeah.
level
What the-
What a
understanding of
disgusting
what
person.
transness is in the first place. And with all due respect, I do not think any of you are basic, but they use you as the baseline to
Girl, you are
amplifying
literally
this
a
propaganda.
caricature.
How is it
Ask your question.
propaganda?
I could
if it's
see
a thing
you,
that really happened,
like,
it was
moving
on
like,
video. Like, it was
uh-oh.
an actual occurrence. It wasn't
Okay.
staged. It
It's like,
happened, and that's
if I
not the
kick
only.
this
It's not an
bitch
isolated
over, am I gonna get in
incident.
trouble?
That's not enough for me to say, because actors can do that. Who knows? They could have been an actor trying to make a point against trans people. But this has always been our battle. It's just like, from what I just heard you were saying with your talking points, because I did understand what you were saying. I just got the word passability out of there, and
Which I didn't
to
say
a-
that word at all.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying
he
that
said
word.
passability.
I'm saying.
She didn't say it. He
I'm-
did. And the
I'll say
problem,
it.
the left.
Okay, I can't.
Also,
I couldn't hear.
this-
I just couldn't hear.
I'll
back
pause
then.
right here. This happened so many times, dude, throughout the debate. Like, I would say something, and then they would fucking attack Blair for it. I don't know.
Really?
I'm talking about at least 3 or 4.
Huh.
At least. Like, it was, I don't, like, am I Blair? Is Blair me?
Yeah.
Are we all one unanimous person?
They're all just so jealous of her fame. It's obvious.
No, they're jealous because she's sexy.
Then she passes, yeah.
Like, let's be real. Let's be real. Blossom could never. Okay, when I met Blair, Blair was like short, like girl short, like
Okay,
shorter
okay.
than me, and I'm a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real.
You're short king.
So, I mean, I'm 5'9", but I'm average, at least
We
for a
love
man.
our short kings here, okay,
But
chat?
Blair's what I would imagine like 5'6" or 5'7". Like, she's definitely average woman for sure. Blossom towers over it. Look at her.
Yeah, obviously
like fucking-
the biggest person on the panel.
It's a fucking space needle over the city.
Oh my lord.
Sorry, she was rude as fuck to me in this debate, so I'm about to turn her ass over, okay?
Hey,
Like, because Jubilee wouldn't let
expose.
me do it, so here I am
This
today.
is the expose. I'm sure they'll cut out. I mean, they've cut out at least a half of it. So.
Yeah.
And
for
by the way,
sure,
the
for
extended
sure.
version I think is only an extra 20 minutes.
No, well, I mean, that That's probably another 20 minutes of a damn dumpster fire. So it was fucking.
They're just trying to make a buck.
The
You know what I was
liberals,
saying
the
was-
liberals always use the.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying you said that word. What I was getting out of what you were saying, the one word that was coming to me was passibility. This is Blossom saying it. And so passibility politics is really a thing in our trans community, especially when we come to the debate of restrooms.
Well, you can say it's politics, but actually it's just real life, right? It's just about
Correct.
where
I
you're
agree.
able to assimilate to and where you're not. And I think one of the biggest problems in the trans community is the community by and large has seemed to reject assimilation and seems hell-bent on...
That's not true.
I think it's absolutely true, which is you see people talking about how you don't need to work on your transition at all to enter women's restrooms. And I think that that is so selfish.
That drives
so
me
it's
crazy.
so disregarding of women who may or may not feel uncomfortable.
But the trans woman experience is not monolithic. So who are we
I
to
never said it
police
was.
transness? Why are we policing other people's transness
I'm
and
just
how they
listening to
show
women.
up?
We have to
But
protect
why are we-
women.
Why are y'all policing though? That's what I don't understand.
Because you're using
I-
words
it's
that we're not
policing.
using. It's not policing. We're listening
is
to women.
policing.
And if you have 50%, we won't say 50%, but if you have a large chunk of the population of women saying that they are uncomfortable with a certain thing, a good person leans in and listens.
So
They
why are
don't
you
just
not listening
reject
to
it.
other trans women, Blair?
I
think
do
that's-
all day. I am
okay,
right
so,
now.
But you didn't, and I'm not trying to be combative or whatever like that. I'm just trying to figure out, you know what I'm saying, what the middle ground would be between you and I, because you said
Bitch, you're
one
always
side, and
trying
that's
to be
great, but
fucking
what about the side of
combative.
trans women? If we're not bringing
Yeah.
both sides into this
Fucking
conversation,
Here's what I would
fake
say.
then it is
ass bitch.
unbalanced.
Here's what I would say then, because I do understand both sides. I didn't, I'm almost a decade into my transition, which means I was one time a year in, 6 months in, 2 months in. So I understand that. But I also knew at the very beginning of my transition that if I'm not at a place physically where I'm not making people feel uncomfortable, or I'm making people uncomfortable, then
Right.
that's on me. That's my
Correct.
responsibility to make sure that I'm going places a certain way to make sure that they're comfortable.
Because it's for
It
your
was my
safety
respons-
also, too, right? Would you
Well,
also say
can-
that you're safe?
Well,
Your
I know
safety
that
plays a part.
you seem to be looking at through the lens of always trans being the priority. I'm looking at it through the lens of women being the priority here. There's plenty of situations.
Why? I just want to know
Because
why
it's them who
around
would
that.
fall victim to not actual trans women, as I said, but people posing as trans women.
I have
People
an
who
answer.
are
But trans
actually
women are
trans.
also victims of that as well.
I'm sorry. I would love it if the two of you have said your piece, and I would love to hear.
Yeah,
what you
everybody
Yeah,
else
yeah, I
needs
just
to
want to
talk.
make this
Nobody
point.
else is
I just
talking.
want to make this point as well. But trans women also experience
All right,
violence.
so I have a question.
and
How
also
many
need
times
protection.
did the moderator interrupt you guys?
I lost fucking count, dude. I don't know, but she said we were the worst group she ever had. Bless her heart.
Oh, really?
Oh my god.
That's hilarious because they've had trans debates before, but it's funny that you guys were quote
Yeah,
unquote
but they
the
got
worst.
Blair White. They found the 4 most militant trans people. Like the other 4 weren't the most, but like you got me, Blair, Blossom, and fucking Sarah all in the same room. Okay, I mean I'm surprised that bitch didn't go down in fucking flames.
Yeah, that was the one that Blair said like threatened her or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who said what.
Yeah,
but-
I literally said this to her. I was like, I wish the fuck she would have. Okay, I would have started levitating.
Yeah, I could tell. It sucks that you had to sit right next to that situation because like
Like I know
the
'cause,
size
she loves to-
disparity.
She loves to like talk all this shit about being from Mississippi. Okay, well I'm from Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia. Okay, you want to pick that fight with me? I've been out longer than her, I think. Like I've been inherently trans longer than her, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
11 years.
That's a long time.
Fucking, yeah. They did this. They did it constantly. So yeah. This is gonna be the messiest stamp Jubilee debate there's ever been.
We're 8 minutes in.
Yeah, it's already getting heated.
And so that's the
No
thing.
doubt.
Like, it should be an even playing field. I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I'm saying is I would like to challenge you to expand to make sure you're being inclusive of both sides or whatever, because
I
we
am.
have to have these important conversations between cis women and trans women.
I
And-
mean, I
and I'm
think-
just gonna say, and I'm not gonna just say cis women, I'm gonna say women, biological women. I want to make it inclusive of everyone.
I think the middle ground, though, is, and I feel like I'm not coming at this from an extreme place. I feel like an extreme place would be like no trans women in the bathroom forever. That's the extreme position. I'm saying work on your transition, take it as your responsibility, and be respectful. And that's the middle ground, right?
This is a self-preservation issue, right? So if somebody's in the bathroom and they have a boner, that looks bad on all of us. And when people, and when our community's not calling that out and not saying that this is
But
wrong.
I'm just,
No,
to
I
your
get
point,
it.
how many cases
Yes,
has
Sarah.
It happens a lot. We see it's happening all the time.
No, I
There
have to
are-
actually
there
see-
are-
I have to actually
there are
see
Twitter
data.
accounts.
I'm sorry, because I just want to make sure the back and
Yeah.
forth goes everywhere.
I mean, there's Twitter accounts with millions of followers that show this stuff multiple times
Okay,
a day.
now I know what we're talking about.
And so we're showing that these types of things do actually cause harm to trans people. So if you're looking at it at a trans lens and to say, what are we doing? We need to combat that stuff and come together to combat that
It does
stuff.
not encompass the entire trans experience.
No,
and
you're
that's all
right.
I just want to say.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of different points from everybody here. Honestly, like I can understand like how some women may feel unsafe with men in the restroom. Men, when I say men, I mean men. I'm not talking about trans women. So being a non-binary person that sometimes has the choice to either go into a men's restroom looking like this. You can look at me.
Blair's
looking
face.
like
It's
this.
just interesting that I thought this was a trans debate. That's what I
don't
thought.
need that.
That's what I thought.
Non-binary
I will
people fall
say
under the
that.
trans
I will say
umbrella.
that.
No, they don't.
You could just look at
So,
my
I don't know, maybe you
face
could
and be
educate
like,
yourself
oh.
a little bit
I
on
think
that,
I think I
and
could
maybe
educate
then you would
you.
figure
I think I
out,
could educate
you know,
you,
what
right?
the reality is
I'm
and what
sure there's
trans actually
a
means.
non-binary
Wait,
gender
pause. Wait,
That was
pause.
wild.
Well, because it's not a debate about who is
Pause. Wait, just because you have boobs doesn't make you a woman. Doesn't make you trans because you look like a man. Okay,
Right.
like I can see them little preteen little sports bra fucking boobs in there. How he managed to get those, bless his heart. But
Seed oils. Grapeseed oil. I just love Blair's snapback. I love that.
I just thought this was a trans debate. That's what the fuck I was thinking. I was like, I'm not gonna be rude. I'm not gonna be rude. But see, that's the good thing about Blair. She says what everybody's fucking thinking.
Yeah, it seems that way.
like all of us were thinking it, and that's why I just wish that they would have shown the moment where my face was just like
I know. I'm sad they didn't do the zoom in on you. But guess can't
there
make
are
it
so
seem like
many
anyone agrees
Jim
with her.
from The Office moments where I was just like, oh shit.
That's amazing.
Yeah, okay.
really trans and who is not.
It can be.
We're talking about restrooms. As a trans non-binary person, when I go into a place that only has men's and women's restrooms and I'm dressed like this, my choice to go into the men's restroom at that point puts me in danger.
6 years ago, when I've transitioned almost 8 years ago, but 6 years
Okay,
ago,
wait,
it
pause
was never
again.
an issue for me to use the women's.
So I don't know if you guys remember back in the damn day, but like gay boys used to always be welcome in the women's restroom.
Yeah, I definitely remember like back in the club days in college, the gay boys are always welcome in. So I mean that alone kind of like proves that
Like they would if anything drag them into the restroom.
Yeah.
Like
They
because
felt
they're
very
not
safe
safe
with gay men.
otherwise.
Right. Yeah, exactly. At
But
some point there was
that
this
doesn't
shift.
make you trans.
Right, exactly. And I don't know when exactly it happened, but there was a shift in the social consciousness of all of a sudden women don't feel safe bringing any men into the room with them. And that's when,
It's because autogynephilia bid ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted
Girls
to go
would
there.
literally drag me in there with them and say, "Girl, you need to be in our bathroom." And I was like,
Yeah, period.
I felt
That's
uncomfortable
what
back
I'm
then.
saying.
I don't pass. I know I don't pass, so that's a me problem. And I'm not going to turn my fear of being attacked in the men's room into a woman's problem. It's still a me problem, so I need to work on myself. And it sucks. Does it suck? Yes, it sucks. I don't pass. I know I don't pass. But I still respect women enough, and I'm...
Oh, this poor thing.
Some trans people aren't capable of handling themselves.
Honestly, I
against
didn't
a
really
man,
clock
but
her that
I'm
well
confident
until
in
she
my
spoke.
ability to do that. Not
Yeah.
everybody
She's
can.
an angel.
I
She's
get that.
sweet. Yeah.
It's just now.
She races
6 years ago, I used
motorcycles.
to use women's room.
Cool.
Now I don't, because
she's a
women have
badass,
spoke
dude.
out. They've come out and said, we're not comfortable. There's too many self-ID'd people out there. just taking advantage, and I choose to use the men's room
Did you see
to
Blair?
protect them.
Yeah, why did they do a wide shot on that?
Like,
I don't know.
in their experience in the
Anything to
bathroom,
make her look crazy.
A lot of the turmoil with going in and you know, especially with Passibility, but the layer that I feel like in the conversation that's missing here is actually trans men. And also the fact that I was born biologically female, and a lot of the things that trans women experience of violence in the bathroom is what I experienced as a child. So the reason why my education here is not necessarily to create an idea that I need to conform to Eurocentric standards. Myself, I'm a 6 foot tall trans man, size 13 shoe, so I don't fit into the Eurocentric standards of what a woman is, and I never did as a child. I was you know, bullied relentlessly for this and isolated from many spaces. So this discussion about trans women being in the restroom also affects biological women, because guess what? You know, biological women come in all shapes and sizes. There are, you know, a lot of lesbian women that deal with this issue that I've related with and empathize, because we both get pulled out of the restroom and thrown, and guys try to beat us up because we're in a restroom with women. And then on top of it, to add that layer that it's not even being discussed in any mainstream, that this is just completely wiped out, and that you're standing up for women, but you're not standing up for women children. You're not standing up for biological females that are children. You're only standing up for what really.
Can we talk about the phrase women children?
Do you mean girls? Is that the word that you mean?
Yeah, what? Like, what
Do you mean the word girls?
What is this like rant about, man?
Okay. I don't know. There were a lot of times when they would just speak and say nothing. Like, it would be so incoherent that by the end your train of thought was just gone. Like, you didn't even know how to respond.
You know, this kind of reminds me of a really good friend I had in college, how I met her, actually. She's very tall, masculine, like, dyke lesbo, and she is amazing, and her name is, well, no, I won't dox her, but anyway. So I met her because someone was being really mean to her in the bathroom, saying like, hey, get out of here, dude. And she was like, I'm a woman, dude.
I'm a woman, dude.
And so, like, and I was there and I saw that and I was like, hey, don't be mean to her, like, she's obviously a female. And that was like a long time ago. That was probably back in like 2013, 2014. You know, this like prude, like stuck up girl was being mean to her just because she presented masculine, but like she wasn't trans. So, you know, that kind of attitude has only gotten worse. And so I understand that people are,
and it's their fucking fault.
Yeah.
It's their fault. Because there was a little sweet spot there for a few years where it was like cool, but shit, they fucking ruined that real quick. That's what I say. You give them an inch and they take them out.
Definitely. So I understand that there are assholes out there that will just be assholes to be assholes, because I've seen it in person, but that doesn't mean that, you know, women don't have legitimate fears.
Yeah.
Really affects you, and it's kind of...
No, I was just saying, like, that just goes back to what Blair said. Yeah, like, period. That's all there is to say.
For sure.
Sad that the idea that Passibility is you need to work on your transition. A lot of folks, especially in our community, have no access to finances, resources, jobs, to even get their foot in the door to get access to hormones. So you're putting all of these barriers just for them to be able to go to the restroom, which is a natural thing that we all have to do. So what do I need to do? Piss outside? Because that's how I was treated my entire childhood.
I would. I just feel like when this whole topic comes up, like, it obviously goes back to like, there's dudes like jerking off in the bathroom, and like, to me, like, when I hear that, I'm like, okay, like, but that's not trans women. So when we talk about this conversation, and it seems like the fear is like literally cisgender straight men who are being creeps. And what sucks is cis straight men can be like creepy, and then it's like trans women, trans men are like paying the price for that.
I can see you like holding your tongue like I have so much to say.
That's what's really hard about it, is because then I think people get the idea, or some people have the belief trans women are just like,
who invited this child?
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
how old is he?
For so many trans women and so many trans men, the safest place for them is the bathroom that aligns with their gender. And if you go to a place where it's illegal to do that, or you have to go and like, what's your ID or like your birth certificate, it puts you in an objectively unsafe situation.
That was a gym moment.
And for me, like, I'm like, if I walk in the women's room, I mean, I know I like look like I look 12, but like I feel like someone would be like, get out of here, you know what I mean? But like, that's the vibe. Like, I think you got to remember, like, when we're talking about it and we're talking about like these creepy dudes like in the bathroom.
Here's the middle ground. Here's the middle ground. Y'all ready? we're going to be so happy with this. This is the middle ground. We all actually agree. It's men that are the problem.
Yep.
It's not trans women, real trans women. However, the problem is our community has really eroded any barriers to actually being trans in the sense of your average cross-dresser can identify as a trans woman.
But then it's not a trans woman.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. I feel that way as well. I agree with you wholeheartedly. However, with the state of the political correctness within the trans community, you can't really say that. Like that person
Is this person
and
saying
their
they're
self-ID.
No, I actually
they
agree.
say that they're trans, but they're a
I
cross-dresser.
actually do agree with you, Blair, 100%.
take my back.
Because
Wow.
that's one of those things. Yeah, I told you. I'm
Let's
really
go.
like that.
Oh my God.
And the reason why I say that is because sometimes when we self-identify,
I love your
some people
face
can
there.
take advantage of that, and that is something, unfortunately, that we cannot control. But we have to combat it,
see the
combat it with
disbelief.
facts, with research, and with the information that is presented in front of us. It seems like
Okay,
we're
but
the
what
ones that's teaching
information?
everybody else
Because you
we
talk
live in a
about
predominant
information
cis
that you never
world.
ever have.
We're teaching them about us. And I just really think we cannot afford to be intellectually dishonest about our experiences as trans people.
There is something that I think we can do. There's solutions to this. Like I do think that something like you have to be on hormones or something like that for 2 years or something before you can even change your ID, like across the board. That would eliminate the cross-dressers from being able to go there, because then you can say, hey, my ID says this, and you can, and so it shows that you've actually taken steps. It's not about passability. It's about how long you've actually been taking the steps to transition.
I support the transgender military.
All right, really well said, Sarah. I wish that they gave you more chance to speak, Andrew. What the heck?
I could have yelled over everybody, but I don't have to argue common sense. The burden of proof is on the side making absurd claims.
Facts. Write that down, chat. Write that down. Neat Scholar says, non-creepy cis men pay for the creepy ones as well. So, okay, so yeah, the comparison here is, if these cross-dressing men who are not really trans are destroying the community for trans people, then yeah, I would definitely. I agree on a different scale, because obviously, trans people are I hate the word minority because it's so overused, but like, they're a small population versus like there are half of the world are men, right? So the bad men obviously make all men look bad, but only to
just
people that
like,
are stupid.
I hate when they fucking, like, there's a lot of women nowadays who just demonize every fucking man. And here's the thing, okay, there's no such thing as male privilege. Okay, there's no such thing as privilege
Yeah.
of any kind in this fucking country. Let me tell
I
you
mean,
what.
you would know. You're now you're to the public a straight white male. You're the enemy, right?
Oh yeah, period. And I work in a customer service environment. My customer service voice is very friendly, and I'll call people honey and like sweetheart, stuff like that. And many women will think that that's like you hitting on them, and I'm like, honey, you're 40 and 250 pounds overweight. Like, I'm a fucking underwear model. And it's just like they walk around this world thinking every man is just this inherently overly sexual being, and it's like gross.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd love your opinion on this too, because it's something that I've thought. There's this push, this agenda that's being pushed on young people. Like a lot of these young girls that might just be having some issues with their self-confidence, or going through their puberty or whatnot, that are kind of going into this idea that they think that being trans will like fix their mental problems. But like, I wish that they would like listen to people who have listened to trans men, because they're people that have gone through the transition already, that they could give them insight as to what it's like being socially a man, because being a man
The
socially
issue
is
is
hard.
that these young trans people, they try and relate to, more specifically, a younger generation of trans people, when they need to be looking at people like Buck Angel and Blair White, and like people who are genuine role models, and they're not. They're looking at people like, Chase Ross. And I'm on the fence about him, because in terms of his politics, he needs to fall off the face of the earth in that sense. But like, in terms of his sex ed, I love him. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean no hate towards Chase Ross. But you've got people like, for instance, Blossom. That's not really somebody I would ever let a child of mine consume content from. under any circumstances, you've got trans people like like Dylan Mulvaney.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
Clown world.
For sure. All right, let's continue.
All right.
Ban. Agreeers?
I think that oftentimes when you talk about trans people in the military, people forget that most places, if we're talking about feet on the ground and really going into war zones, are really dangerous for trans people. And so it's really an extra risk.
You're talking about the culture that exists over
Yeah,
there.
the Middle East, you know,
yeah.
it's like that's not exactly
the
trans-friendly. It's
for
actually
us,
the opposite. The medications that we take sometimes put us in conflict with being able to actually be combat ready. But there is some nuance here, obviously, like if there was a trans cook or a trans medic, I'm not exactly going to be upset, but for the most part, when it comes to combat.
I hate supporting, like what you just said, I hate supporting it because it goes to the narrative of the should athletes compete in sports, you know, but
trans athletes?
Yeah, the drugs we take do weaken us, you know, so we're not, like you just said, combat ready, but we're also not as physically strong as the guy counterparts standing right next to us.
And I will say, like, as a person with HIV, I was diagnosed at 18. I couldn't go into the military, like, because I couldn't get Big Tarby overseas, you know?
Yeah, so I will say, as probably the only person that served in the military on this entire panel.
You should have spoke first.
It's okay. The thing about it is, I think that there is a lot of nuance in this. I actually have friends that are currently serving in the military. I think there was a lot of misrepresentation of what the trans ban actually did. You know, you have soldiers, if you have surgeries, they go on profile, which means they can't actually do their job. They can't do PT. If you have bottom surgery, it takes a year. And so as a leader, that person's filling a position of a job of somebody that should be doing it. I don't mind somebody who is actually on hormones going there, because there's a lot of people, I mean, people take PTSD medications overseas. They actually take 6 months of medication with them. So a full-out ban I don't necessarily support, because I think that everybody in the military, as long as you can do your job, you can go in there and nobody really cares. But it is those times when, if you can't perform your job, that becomes an issue. You talk about with HIV, actually, most people don't even realize this. If you contract HIV while you're in, you can stay in a non-deployable job.
Right, and then also, you know, if we want to just get super real, you have the trans suicide rate, and if you really want to compound that by the veteran suicide rate, that's not exactly a concoction for very positive results. So I see how a trans ban could actually benefit us, and Lord knows I'm not trying to get drafted, so yeah, I'm all good with that.
Period.
Yeah. Period.
I think it's very discriminatory to keep trans people out of the military. We pay our bills here, we pay our taxes here. We are Americans. We deserve to serve this country as well.
It's like,
however,
it's like,
you all did raise some great points about the concern and safety of trans people. And I do agree that something does need to be done about that to protect us. Who's protecting us in the military? Who is?
I mean, if you're even diagnosed with like mild social anxiety, you're not eligible to enter the military. If you have like a crooked left, you know, pinky toe, you're not eligible. So discriminatory, I mean, that word sounds pretty, in today's climate, very much like, oh no, discrimination, but it's not always bad. Sometimes it's for the safety, and it's like, you know, when it comes to the military and when it comes to keeping America safe, that has priority over anyone's feelings.
Discrimination is discrimination, and I don't think there's
not always
any
a negative
other way
thing,
around
though.
it. It's still discrimination.
That doesn't mean it's negative, though.
Our troops
That
over
doesn't
there
mean it's
while
negative, though.
Yeah, that's propaganda. Like, discrimination is discrimination as much as propaganda as trans women are women.
Dude, she's a broken fucking record.
Discrimination is discrimination.
Record. Holy shit. God damn.
They're
This is gonna give me a fucking heart attack.
Before, so they can get in.
Both. It is important to protect all trans people in the military.
Well, we can't waste
And so what if the best way to protect
protecting
them is not putting them in the Middle East with Muslims that are going to kill them?
Well, I just want to interject your point about suicide. So as somebody who has worked in community service with community members directly, a lot of their suicide issues actually revolve around access to finances. And the military is one of the highest employers of transgender people. So we actually see the suicide rate
because
drop.
it's
And
one
for
of
me
the
personally,
highest employers of people, dumbass.
Anybody.
But if you're suicidal and you go into a job that has a high likelihood.
Not you talking over yourself.
Dude, like literally, that's because it's one of the highest employers, period. That's
Yeah.
why. You know why? It's because it's the employees fucking all over the damn place. Like,
Yeah, they'll take
fucking,
anyone
I wouldn't be
who can
surprised if
go.
it had more employees than McDonald's.
For sure. Yeah, our
And
military
McDonald's
is
has got
literally
a
always...
motherfucking army, okay?
They do. They do. And I think that the military wants anyone they can get, you know?
For sure.
I mean,
For sure.
I'm an ex-military wife, and he's a recruiter, so I know how crazy that shit is.
Oh, yikes. Recruiters are fucking crazy. Like, they be coming in my Facebook profile messages, and I'm just like, I have HIV, leave me alone.
Oh.
And they're all, and one of them was like, that's sad, and I was like, you're sad.
Yeah, he
I was
wasn't
having a bad
recruiter when we were
day.
together,
I
but-
was like, get the fuck out of my damn messenger. With your fucking recruiting shit.
Yeah, that's wild. Also, like, did Blossom say, like, who protects us in the military? Like, the military protects every American citizen. That's, like, their point. That's, like, the point of the military.
The military protects the military. That's, like, what, I don't know.
Discrimination is discrimination.
It's discrimination is discrimination. No, literally, a broken fucking record. Like, I'm just... That shit's gonna give me a heart attack. If I die of a heart attack at 35, y'all know why. It's because of people like this.
Of PTSD, causing PTSD and all these other issues, then it becomes a big issue because then you already have one mental illness, and then you're compounding it with more.
And when you're on, a very strict regimen of, if you're trans and if you're really trans, and we can get into who's really trans later because I'm gonna have a lot to say about that. But if you're gonna be on hormones, right? You're not always going to have access to those drugs when you're deployed and when you're in those situations. That's why I say if you're, a line cook or something, if you're whatever, that's one thing. But if we're talking about combat, you're not exactly going to have access to your testosterone blockers and your estrogen.
How do you know that? Because medical
they
care
don't have
is
those kind
covered
of pharmacies in the Middle East.
Medical care is covered in the military, so they should have access to that. So that is false information.
And also, you guys are forgetting the fact, well, hold on. You guys have all forgotten the fact of what is the flip side for these transgender individuals that are signing up for the military and they're taken out, and that was their life plan. Where are they supposed to work and where is their employment supposed to be? Because the
fucking figure it out.
I agree, it's
through
horrible.
homelessness and the lack of resources
I agree,
that
it's
come.
horrible.
So that is also the flip side of that. So if folks
but they
don't
didn't
have,
kick
hold
anybody
on
out.
1 second, but if they don't have access to a job that could offer
Oh
them safe
no,
work
he did
and
not just talk to
research
Sarah like
and
that.
access to medication, access to benefits, lifetime benefits, that's something that most
Sarah,
transgender
girl.
people in any sector of any
So
job.
do you want an answer to your question, or are you just going to rant? Because I can answer, you said, what about those people that were kicked out? I actually think it's bad if you are someone who was in it and you really are, because just like, Sarah, and I've met many trans veterans that I've paid respect to publicly on social media, and I think that's amazing, actually. So if you're kicked out and it was once, the norm
But
that
what's
you
the
could,
resources you're
I'm
offering them,
speaking
though?
though. If you're kicked out and it once was the norm for you to participate in the military, that's sad. But at the same time, if that is what is determined for the ultimate safety and effectiveness of the military, nothing should come before that.
Blair, have you ever
Because
worked directly with
because the
trans
second
people?
bomb.
Have you ever worked
I
directly?
am right now.
No,
We're
directly
surrounded by
in
them.
services in terms of nonprofits
Sir,
and
she's
actually
a
getting
trans
clientele.
person.
She's not
That's my
grassroots.
entire
She is
career.
not a grassroots
Not
person
grassroots.
because truth be told, a lot of our
What does that
community
even mean?
is in grassroots.
Have you ever had a
Nonprofit
client list of
organizations that are
transgender people that you
trans-led. Hold
actually
on just
took
a
care
second.
of?
Hold on just a second.
Took care of them, like what, like paid
Trans-led
their
org-
bills? No,
I'm
I don't
sorry,
Offering them
excuse me.
services, getting them through
Here it
I've helped a
comes.
lot of
Here it
trans
comes.
people in my life,
Trans-led
yes.
organizations that are
God.
ran by trans people. I really want to see what you've done for those organizations because I don't see any of y'all on the front line.
I'm on
The front line, like
fighting
what are you
against the-
talking about?
I'm
I've
on the front
dedicated,
line.
hold on. I've dedicated my entire life to, in my own way, and you can disagree with it because we all have our vehicles and our methods towards
Absolutely.
promoting trans acceptance and the ultimate progression of the quality of life of trans people. I've dedicated my entire life to that, right? I access millions of people every single month on all my social media. And I have people reaching out all the time saying that I've saved them from,
what are
just
you
like we
physically
mentioned,
doing,
suicide.
Blair?
What are you
physically doing? That is the point.
Have you ever taken on a client loan? Have you ever had
here's the
someone come
thing.
to you
I'm sorry,
homeless
do you
and
have
give
like,
them resources?
I'm
do you have
sure
like
you
a
guys
trans
feel
humanitarian youth fund
You guys
or
are asking
something?
questions and you have no interest in the answer. I'm sure you guys are very, very proud of the
Because you're
fact that
going
you can
around in
walk.
circles, Blair.
Hang on,
That's
pause.
what we're saying.
Pause.
How could it be a circle when I have?
No, I need no. Do that again. Actually, put it back. Can you put that back? Is that possible? The full screen back. Ah, beautiful. I love that. Okay, so that guy that was just speaking, the one who like interrupted Sarah, the 6 foot trans man, size 12, whatever he was trying to flex. I'm about to be real disrespectful for a minute because I've been holding this in since the debate, sir. You are a scammer. You are a fraud. Like, the services that you offer to people, if you're in the so-called, field that you say that you're in, right, which is providing resources to trans children and trans adults and blah blah blah, you're groomer, you're a fraud. You are not doing anything worth mentioning. Okay? Like, you're gross is what you are. The way that you talk to people is gross. Like, Blossom, I'm coming for you next. So don't you worry. But your time's gonna be in a minute.
On full screen before is because I don't have a second monitor, so I have to monitor the Brave browser, the Chrome browser, OBS, Discord, and YouTube all on one monitor.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's why it's this. So sorry about that.
Yeah. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
It
I haven't
is
answered
rough.
the question
It's rough
at
out
all
here.
because you keep speaking. I'm sure you guys are very proud that you can enter a building and work with 25 people at a time. I access millions every month,
not
babe.
what
That's what I
nonprofit work
do.
is.
It's really disappointing that you would ever equate
This is
community
disappointing,
services.
actually. This is disappointing, actually.
This is very
It's disappointing that you would disrespect all of the people that are in community service and all of these social
Y'all have
workers that
two
actually do
different
help trans
jobs
people.
in that case.
And it's
Why are we
really
even
disappointing.
comparing fucking pots and pans? Like
Yeah.
if she's a social media commentator and you're a therapist, why are we comparing those two things? Why is this even happening right now? That's what I was thinking in this moment. Why is this even happening right now?
Yeah, you look pretty shook, to be honest. So he's a therapist, and he's trying to say that her work is invalid.
Or something like that. I would say he probably works in like community services or mental health or something like that.
Very nondescript. Yeah, he's pretty vague about with
Yeah.
his superiority complex.
Yeah. Like, this is just like, and I've dated a trans guy who is a therapist, and I'm gonna name him. His name is Elijah. He's a wonderful man. He he is nothing like that. Nothing like that. And I just don't like, and it's just clear, you know what I'm saying? It like there are some people in this world who've got it, and there are just some people in this world who don't. And this nameless man who was so irrelevant and insignificant to me that I don't even remember his name. This nameless man could not hold a candle to Elijah or people like him in that regard. Okay. Period.
Pointing that you guys are disrespecting what the fuck I do, right?
When you say something about what is grassroots, that's the problem that I feel that some
Well, you're
trans
using a
influencers are
metaphor for
disconnected.
something that's
That is not a
professional.
They're gonna
metaphor.
speak in platitudes
That
the
is
whole
a
time. That's
tangible
what they're gonna do.
resource organization. Because this is where y'all's privilege come in. Because if y'all don't need
My privilege?
services
My
from
content is a
trans-
resource.
If you do not need
First of
services
all, ma'am,
from
don't come from my
nonprofits
privilege.
that are trans-led,
Because
you have
I was raised by
privilege
drug
and you
addicts.
have
I have
access.
HIV.
I'm sorry.
I create the resources.
I would rather
I create
work
the
with
resources. My
detransitioners
content
than
is a
trans
resource.
people. So we're going to work with detransitioners who actually need our help.
But we're not.
Okay, glad I put my makeup on today for this clown show. I cannot believe that they're
My
trying to...
privilege?
Yeah,
Bitch.
what?
And by the way, I would like to release this statement now. My parents are great. In the past 15 years, they've gotten sober. They've turned their lives around. But that doesn't mean that there was no privilege involved, okay? I've been working 40 hours a week since I was fucking 14 to have shit that other kids were handed. So, my parents are great. Clearly Blossoms did not do a very good fucking job. raising their son, daughter, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't obviously I don't know where you
You
live,
can see
but
me
I know
looking
the
at the
area.
moderator like, are you gonna let me strangle her?
I understand. I mean, it's very insulting and infuriating, and you know, like
I'm
I
like,
said,
what fucking privilege? Because like Blair said this, and I would say Blair is more privileged than I am in this regard. Like, because that bitch has been to the White House. Okay, Blair hasn't been to the White House. I haven't been to the White House. So what fucking privilege are we talking about? Like, because you were put on fucking the Kardashian show just because you're trans
oh wow.
and you're so loud that you somehow managed to talk somebody into it. But
That's
I mean,
crazy.
this is Hollywood. She's Hollywood, is what she is.
Yeah,
Anyway,
definitely. There's the
fucking
oppression
gross.
Olympics. I can't believe like she doesn't know you. She doesn't know any of these people like on a personal basis. Like
No, she doesn't.
yeah, I hate when
Like, and
people say that
but
I'm
that's the
privileged and they
thing.
don't know me.
I don't know if you heard Blair when she said it, but she was like, she's gonna speak in platitudes the whole time. It's what she does. Like, like, because she's gonna speak in platitudes the whole fucking time, and again, I'll say it. I'm gonna say it 100 times throughout the stream. I made it my mission. She's a broken fucking record, because like y'all had to endure the repetition of that or of this shit. I have to endure the repetition of that shit. And again, I was there. Okay, like I had to watch this happen IRL.
That's wild. When was this? How long ago was it?
A few weeks.
Okay. Wow. Did they pay for your ticket to come out and everything?
So they paid for mine. I know some people do, but like they pulled me out of the damn depths short notice.
Oh,
So
really?
there was no way that I was gonna be able to do that in the like week and a half that they gave me. Like that was a damn $1,000.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, so
they
yeah, they
wanted
did
their
have to pay for my
token trans
transportation.
conservative, so I mean, hey, what an
Yeah.
opportunity.
I mean, yeah, it was fun, and I did not know Blair White was gonna be there. Apparently, I'm one of 4 in the world, so
There you go.
They found
Let's
all
talk
4
about
of us.
military.
Put us
Oh my
together.
Give us another one, but I'm gonna give you one more chance.
It's the condescension for me,
I will take a step back and let other people have an
I
opinion.
feel like so like Blair said, like when you want to go into the military, like they gotta like check you out and like are you fit to go
If
into
he
the
says
military, whatever.
like
For that
one
reason,
more
I don't feel
time.
like a ban on trans people in the
One more
military is
time.
necessary because I feel like who's ready to go to combat and who's ready to go in, like they'll get in. I think there are people who are
Drinking
like
game,
able
take
to
a
do
shot
that, maybe
every
people
time
who
he says
aren't.
like, and
I
see
feel
how
like
long it
that
takes you
will
to
be
get alcohol
determined without
poisoning.
just a ban across the board. And yeah.
So it wasn't actually a full ban, though. That's what people don't realize, okay? So
You can still enlist.
nobody got kicked out of the military. They didn't kick
Yeah.
a single person out of the military who came forward and had gender dysphoria. 2, it was actually easy. It's more open to serve under the ban than it was under Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Yeah.
Okay? So you could actually be a trans person and present however you wanted off duty. You could go to a ball in a dress and nobody cared, and they couldn't kick you out. And serving in the military, it's not a right. They can disqualify you for any reason, physical, anything. People get kicked out all the time because they can't pass PT tests.
Right.
And overseas, yeah, you don't necessarily have access to refrigerators for your testosterone or any of that other stuff. So if you're taking injections, it's a lot different.
I'm supposed to refrigerate it?
I don't know. I don't take
And
testosterone.
that's gonna melt in the Middle Eastern sun, believe that.
Hormones are
That
not always-
estradiol is gonna be
Female
blue
hormones
goo.
are not always refrigerated. Let's just make that clear.
Well, my concern would be that, like, who's joining the military not to
That was all
serve
I
in
was
the
worried
country,
about
but
in that
only to
moment. I
get
was like,
the
I'm
cheaper
supposed
drugs
to
and
refrigerate
paid
it?
for surgery, and I don't want that trans person
Okay,
defending
who's
our
joining the
country.
military because they got a woman pregnant and they just need to pay their bills. There's so
I
many
don't
different
want that
reasons why
person
people
either,
join the
because I
military.
want
And also
dedicated
there
people.
are easier
I want
ways to get
dedicated people that want to defend the country that I live in.
There are
and
easier
protect
ways to get drugs.
us.
There are easier ways to get drugs and to join the military. That's a big commitment to
Let's
get
just
drugs.
put it this
to-
way.
to-
There are
to- to
far
do it
less
for high school, too,
debilitating
or
things that will
education.
disqualify you from access to the military than trans. And if you
Yeah.
want to put it on a scale, trans is one of those things that for a lot of people is quite debilitating, whether it's mentally, physically, whatever. If you have, social anxiety, if you have depression, any of these things that are less mentally taxing than gender dysphoria, all those things, then why is it that we should have like a go around because we're trans? I go with what the generals say. I go with what the people at the top say. This is what is the most effective way to have our military.
Just not General Milley.
I just really hope that the people at the
No,
top
not
that
him.
you're,
You know what I mean?
just
It's
really hope
levels
that
to
the
that
people,
too.
I just really hope that the people at the top that you're referring to aren't transphobic, because let's be clear of the isms that are in the military.
Man, we live
that
in
a lot of us
America.
face.
People are allowed
Excuse me,
to
I'm
be.
speaking. Do not interrupt
This
a
is
black
it.
trans woman when she's speaking.
You've
Let's be
interrupted
very
me
Okay.
clear.
hella
When it
times.
comes to, when it
Hella
comes to
times.
ism,
Pause. They cut my mic off.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So here is what or at the very least, I'm gonna say what I would have said had that moderator not been fucking sitting there. Blossom, you dirty, stinky, crusty, dusty bitch.
We are on YouTube. Keep that in mind.
Do not ever speak to me like that. No, because like don't interrupt a black trans man. Don't interrupt a white trans man. You see how
Yeah.
fucking stupid that sounds?
Yeah.
That's stupid. That's moronic. Crusty, dusty bullshit is what it is. Demented. Like, the fact that you would even speak to somebody like that in a debate tells you everything that you need to know about this person. Like, because I don't have to get loud with her. Like, because I can get my point across without being loud. But yeah, no, you don't talk to people like that. That's fucking disgusting. Like, that is some man shit.
Yeah, for real. So rude. And it's always crazy. Like, why you gotta bring like the oppression Olympics into it? Like, why you gotta bring
This is a
race?
debate about trans people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're the only black person in the room. You should have brought a friend. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's not my fucking fault, though, and nobody was even talking about that. You brought up the black shit. Like,
Right.
you did.
I
Don't interrupt a black trans woman when she's speaking.
My
Like, don't,
God.
like, you mean the way you've been interrupting everybody? Okay, you're a hypocrite. You're gross. And that's the thing. Because I had an utmost respect for that woman walking into that room, and I left with a complete and utter distaste for her.
That's fair. I can see just your body language right now. You are just in awe. Like, you are in shock that anyone would have the nerve.
Girl, I was about to get up. I
understand.
Girl, all of our IDs are different genders in here, okay? If we
Right.
get in a fight, ain't nobody going to jail.
That's true. Sad truth. So wait, so they cut your mic off during this moment?
Yeah, you can't hear what I'm fucking saying.
That's crazy.
Which I was like, first of all, don't fucking talk to me like that. And then, yeah, because I guess that's not Jubilee friendly. Like, yeah, fuck off. Like,
That's
no.
insane.
You wanted Andrew Ostrihon and you got him, okay? You wanted Blair White and you got her,
Yeah.
okay?
They knocked out. They didn't let her put her mic back on too. I think that's what she was saying. She's like, she took her mic off, and there was like you guys like came back, right?
It was at the end. It's like, that's at the very, very end, but you'll see. You'll see. Yeah.
Did the interrupter just
Again,
say
if you
use
are
her
black,
skin tone
if
to
you
say
are
you couldn't
black,
interrupt her?
if you are black and
That's
trans
amazing.
and you want to go into the military, I am quite sure that my experience would not look the same as y'all's. And if we can't,
I love
wake
that
up,
moment
then
you
we're
had
really
with
being
Blair. It was
completely
special.
I don't think your
But
skin tone makes any difference.
Well,
As somebody,
yes, it does. Well,
as
I'm
somebody,
sorry.
no, as somebody who's
But it
serving in the
doesn't.
For
military,
you to
as
tell a
somebody
black
who, no,
person that is so
as somebody who's serving,
problematic, for you to
So why
tell
do
a
you have
person
to
of
put
color
black in
here,
front of
So
it?
because I
loud.
am, this is my experience and this is my reality. First of all,
has
that
nothing to
is
do
so
with your transness,
disrespectful
though.
to tell a person
I'm
of
gonna have an
color, a
aneurysm.
black person, how they should feel. How dare you sit up there and say
no,
that?
it's disrespectful for you to tell a white person
Hold on,
how to
just
feel.
a second. Let me
screamed
finish
at
my
me
point.
and you
I did not
just
scream
yes,
at a
you
point.
did.
No,
No, you're
the
being
one that was coming
disrespectful.
back.
Rewind the tape,
You
you
wanted me
screamed.
here and I'm
You
here.
screamed.
So what you
Rewind
gonna
the
do?
tape, that was good.
You wanted me here, so I'm
Replay.
here. You in
Right,
particular.
so be
Let's
respectful.
go.
speak like
Be
a
in
white person.
particular, what are you talking about?
It's not my fault that y'all don't understand respect.
Let's pause.
You're
Oh
interrupting
my God.
everything.
Can you please
Can you
stop?
calm down and
Stop,
speak
stop.
like a
We're
normal
good.
person?
You need to calm down.
No, you do, honey.
You're
Oh my
being
God.
too
Someone get a
loud.
Xanax for her.
Keep your.
Sick T Swift on her. That was ridiculous. Like, Sarah tried
You
so
are
hard.
somebody that I don't know, and you take your shots at me like it's Patron, and I'm
And
just
I'm
like, damn. It's 7 a.m.
I could not
For
believe
real?
that. Like, Sarah tried so hard to like turn and like speak to
She's
her.
so loud. There's like no way to fucking.
Blair's like, I'm gonna have an aneurysm.
It's like Dude, it's like arguing with a tornado siren. I don't. It's just. Okay, keep going. Keep going for a heart attack.
Keep it cute, girl. Keep it real cute.
Oh,
Your
that's
bodyguard's
inappropriate,
outside,
but the rest
keep
of
it
shit
real
isn't.
cute,
Okay.
ma'am.
The rules are you cannot speak when somebody else is speaking.
Fair.
Okay? If you haven't found a middle ground, that's okay.
I think we did.
Okay?
I feel like there was a little bit mixed in there.
Yeah, I agree with what y'all were saying.
No.
It wasn't really like, I thought it was great.
So
or whatever
imagine
was
when we
competitive.
disagree. That'll be fun.
I feel like it was really interesting hearing your perspective about being in the military. And I don't know if there's really like a true middle ground found, but I feel like I have like a better understanding of kind of where you're coming from with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of points make sense, and it's also an issue that is hard to get a definitive answer and agreement
You can
on.
see my eyes
Everybody
going back and
doesn't
forth from
have the
Blair to
same
Sarah,
struggle.
like,
And that does include in the military. Some people in our community have to go through much more extremes than others. And so for me, my question becomes, how are they being taken care of? Especially when a trans person comes out in the military, yeah, we have these things enacted, but that doesn't mean that in reality and in physical time that they're being treated under what is in the law that's supposed to protect them. So that's where I'm coming from or whatever, because reality and what's on paper are two different things.
But they are. So this is, again, the culture of the military. This is a debate that we have as civilians that the military doesn't have, okay? Just plain and simple. If you can do your job, nobody cares who you are, what you do, what your extracurricular activities outside of the military are. All they care is that they can count on the person to the left and right of them. And again, like I said before, in the very beginning, if you can't deploy and you can't go do your job, then there's really not a big reason for you to be there.
And to agree with your point, I'm not in the military, nor am I a military general, but I trust that military generals know how to get their troops deployment ready. And if someone is able to go through all the rigorous steps, take out the trans, but they've been able to meet medical, health, all of the hoops that need to be met, I don't see any reason to take away someone's opportunity to serve this country and to be proud of serving this country, because being American is something to be proud of.
Yeah, and like the trans ban didn't actually do that. Like I said before, you just couldn't go actually like take hormones and transition while you were in, and it was a lot different because I served in 2010 to 2011 before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, so I know what it was like before that as well.
And I totally agree with what you're saying. So there's some middle ground.
There's some middle ground there. Let's go, people.
Everybody shaking hands and shit.
Should include trans conversation in sex ed.
Join our Middle Ground Patreon to watch this exclusive prompt.
Oh, shut up.
It's okay for minors to
them.
get top surgery.
Really?
You guys waited on that?
That's pretty vile.
I feel like the vibe is like, like as someone who had top surgery and went on hormones, like it's a very emotionally intense experience. I think in terms of like minors getting surgery, like the reason why I'm not like no to that is because I feel like maybe someone's like 17 or something. I honestly feel like it is a really intense surgery, but I feel like if somebody's like 17 or like late 16 and like feels like it's right for them, I mean, like people are really different. I know for me, like top surgery when I was like 16 would have been like so good, and it would have literally like saved my spinal cord from like binding all the time. That's why I'm like, yeah, like I feel like in instances like it can make sense.
So I'm not a trans man, so I don't have the experience or whatnot, but I do think that it has to be done safely. There is a process when it comes to having these types of gender-affirming surgeries. You know what I'm saying? Talking with your parents and then going to endocrinologists and going through therapy to make sure this is right for you. People have a choice to their autonomy. Now, I know that everybody does not, but those that do or whatnot should choose with the right medical education.
Yeah.
They should choose with safety and with full understanding of what is a benefit and what may not be a benefit.
I agree with a caveat that there does need to be some sort of process, which there is, by the way, in place.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes does it slip through? Yes, things happen because again, as I said earlier, this is a big world. But to again, negate people the ability to walk through a door that you have walked through, I'm gonna say this again, and then close it behind you, is a little bit of a slap in the face for anybody who's seeking transition.
Yeah.
And as somebody who has experienced top surgery and also waited quite a bit of time, a lot of severe damage actually was created to my rib cage that my wife, who is half my size, actually has the same size rib cage in the back as mine. And these are permanent damage to my body because I binded for about 8 years, and there's even still issues that I have with breathing and certain issues that I face that
Okay, you should have been wearing a looser binder, dumbass.
Yeah, or also
Like,
but also
the binder when you got when you were 12, it might not fit anymore.
yeah, and it just, I mean, I don't know. I
Like
can
this,
only
it just seems like operator error here.
yeah. I fundamentally disagree with the whole thing. So, I
I'm
mean,
just-
there's,
I mean,
it's
don't
so
worry, we're
dangerous.
coming.
It's so
We're
dangerous,
coming.
you know, like that. I think of like the binding of the feet, you know, of young girls in other places of the world, you know. It's just
Or like the stretching of the neck, or honestly, all the
Yeah.
weird shit, like the fucking lip gauges and the
Yeah.
fucking, like, I mean, look, come on now. Come on now.
yeah.
you know, unfortunately, if I had that surgery a lot earlier, I would have a better posture. I'd have a lot of pain that is not within my body that I have to deal with on a daily basis, while
Pause.
simultaneously.
Pause. Posture is something that's not subconscious. You have to think about your posture. You have to sit with confidence. You don't have good posture because you don't try to. I don't want to hear that. Okay, go ahead.
The idea that, you know, I get maybe under 16, top surgery would be something that would possibly even make me a little uncomfortable, but I also know that I was homeless at 16, paying my own rent, and left my home at 16 and had to live my life as an adult very early. So I was able to make those decisions for myself, but I think it's weird that others can't seem to see that I could make a medical decision for myself when I had to physically take care of myself. And I look at some of these younger kids, and there's a sense of jealousy there and excitement for them at the same time, because they now have access to memories and being in the space and being in a comfortable body that, you know, I had a lot of isolation growing up in my childhood because I didn't feel comfortable to present in a female space or a male space. I was isolated constantly from school, from the outside world, from my family. And my transition, my top surgery has done nothing but take physical pain off my body, especially with as large chest
Okay, but
as
we're
it was,
talking about
and having to bind for as
minors.
many years as I did.
For sure.
I don't think any minor should be having life-altering elective surgery or life-altering elective medicalization, period. And so when I work on bills across the country that do ban this for minors, there's a couple things I point out. I point out that I don't think a 16-year-old female who wants breast implants should be able to get that either. When we look at what we allow minors to do, like
period.
Surgeries and stuff like that, they're not life-saving. They're not, if you don't get it, you're not going to die. It's not like getting, like having appendicitis and having to get your appendix removed or anything like that. It's elective. I think that's the key point here.
Agreed.
My thing about surgery, I'm actually vehemently against surgery, like all of it, top surgery, bottom surgery, all of it. Particularly because you need your genitals. Like, it's just that simple.
Hello.
You know, you have these people now who have non-functioning fake penises and vaginas that, you know, you've had issues like, for instance, Richie had where like your urethra folds in half and then you can't pee no more.
I can top surgery too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just surgery in general, I don't think that that's necessarily like you said, it's not like you have appendicitis. It's not like you've got like a bone spur. It's, you know, like you don't.
I disagree with
not
that because
having
I was in
surgery-
physical pain, and the moment that I
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, rewind that. I lost connection for a second.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you just popped off, so let's watch that again.
Oh
chat.
yeah, I can't remember what I said here. That's why.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, I don't think that chopping up body parts is good for anybody. So
It's not. It's not.
actually vehemently against surgery, like all of it, top surgery, bottom surgery, all of it, particularly because you need your genitals. Like, it's just that simple.
Hello.
You know, you have these people now who have non-functioning fake penises and vaginas that, you know, you've had issues like, for instance, Richie had, where like your urethra folds in half and then you can't pee no more.
This is about.
Oh, are you against top surgery too? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just surgery in general. I don't think that that's necessarily like you said, it's not like you have appendicitis. It's not like you've got like a bone spur. It's, you know, like.
And keep in mind, like when I'm saying this, you know, top surgery is, if you're a 120-pound trans man, how about instead of going and chopping yourself up, maybe do some push-ups? You know, I understand if you got some triple D titties. Okay, baby, I understand. Totally, right? But it's just like we just don't know what this is going to do later. We just don't
100%.
know.
Yeah, and there are just too many detransitioners at this point. There are too many people that kind of like grow up and they could have just been gay, and I think that's why like it's such a scary line to cross for kids. So, and especially getting the surgeries is a line you just shouldn't cross until you are old enough to really understand better. And also, like, if you don't have the body parts fully like developed yet, then you don't have anything to work with, like you said. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, period.
I disagree with
Not
that because I was in
surgery-
physical pain, and the moment that I got that top surgery, the pain was
Well,
alleviated.
that means you needed a breast reduction, my friend.
No, it's just
No,
binding, dude.
that's from
Binding goes
in
crazy.
general, it
I mean, I
causes
binded for 8
sensitivity.
years. I know, like, it
I
sucks.
know, but like if you just keep binding, like honestly, like my ribs are like, I'm like, ew, I hate my ribs. Like they're all like messed
Okay,
up.
this goes back to the point of get a bigger fucking binder, you Looney Tunes. Get a bigger fucking binder. If it's that big of an issue, you know, because at this point, like, I can see an issue where these surgeries become against the law because of what they're doing with children and detransitioners and things of the sort. And there are just other ways to make your body aesthetically pleasing in that regard than surgery. Trust me. I've never been cut by a knife, and I'm pretty sexy myself, so.
I'm glad to hear that you haven't been cut by a knife. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that would fucking suck.
Safety of binding, though? I'm actually curious.
Yeah,
about
like
this.
honestly,
It's the
but
safety
the
of,
thing
of
is
how
too,
they
like
teach you to
I
bind?
think it comes with like the size of your chest. So like I had a big chest, so like
Same.
I
I had a
like,
C.
it was the only way.
A C cup. Y'all know that? I mean, they're not huge, but they're there. And keep in mind, I'm not wearing a binder here or like anything. I just look like that because I worked for it. Okay, like.
You know what I
listen,
mean?
these people
And I
are
did
morons.
try and like bind like safely, and I did buy like reputable like binder brands, but it is a lot when you're doing it for a really long time. And
I used to wear it for
like
3 days straight.
I know, me too. Like, and that's what's like you're not supposed to.
Was
but like,
your doctor telling you that that's not safe because you're not even supposed to wear
yeah,
it
of
24
course.
hours?
My doctor's
straight,
old
right?
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, and I
6
did
to
have
8
to go
hours is-
through like for top surgery and testosterone. Like I had to go through like a really big process, and I think that's my thing is like instead of an age thing, I think there's like there should be a process. You should
I'm
have
the
to,
only
like,
trans man
live as
here that
gender
even
and
looks
be
relatively my age. Like, because I'm like balding a little bit, I think. Yeah. Yeah, like. What? Yeah, I definitely win the passing Olympics, that's for sure. For sure. And I don't have
be
that
having
voice.
like a therapist for long term and a psychiatrist for long term and an endocrinologist for long term, and like it's really like specific to the person, and I think would be like really rare anyway. But that's just my stance.
That I agree with to an extent.
This is definitely the prompt that I am.
Why did they cut off the rest of what?
Passionate.
I don't even remember what I said, but I know I said something else there. That pisses me off.
Yeah, I don't know why they cut you off either. Like you didn't
Y'all
get to
some
speak a lot.
trifling ass bitches. Y'all some trifling ass bitches. It's okay. It's okay, I'll remember that. I'll remember that.
About because I think there are few things more vile, more irresponsible, more, dangerous than saying a child can consent to permanently removing a body part that serves an extremely important function. Detransitioners all over the country can never breastfeed their children if they can even have them, because if they did other things, that can stop them from having kids at all, right? The idea that a child can consent to a sex change, to gender affirming surgery, if you believe that, there's really nothing that you can believe they can't consent to, right? Because that's pretty extreme. That's a permanent body modification under the best circumstances. So you want to move aside all the complications, all the things you can't do, the sterilization, not being able to feed your kids. You can even set that aside. Just the permanent body modification, I mean, you have to be so demented to believe that a child fully understands. I heard a few conversations about, well, if the child fully understands, they don't.
They don't.
They don't, because they're children.
I'm
That's like how
21
being
and
a
I still
child
don't
works.
understand.
17-year-old, like if a 17-year-old's like living as male
I
for like
still don't
5
The
years.
prompt was
it's
about
like,
minors,
I just
and
don't understand.
12-year-olds
It's
are
a
getting
minor.
top surgery. So it's easy to say, well, if it's 17-year-olds, okay, well,
In my state, that's actually
there's a
legal
nuanced
age.
conversation about even 17-year-olds, I guess, because the age of consent in some places is lower, but that's not what's happening, right? It's 12-year-olds.
When we talk about minors, it's like, what age range are we really talking about here?
Anyone
because
under
the thing,
18.
because the thing is, when we talk about
Period.
detransitioners or whatnot, all I hear is a lot of regret, right? Regret that they got these surgeries, regret of the complications, regret, and that's
Complications.
fine. I'm not taking away anybody's experience because these things do happen. But let's also
Complications.
remember,
Can we
again, there
can we
is
put that on a
process.
t-shirt?
Now, I have a lot of empathy for those detransitioners that have gone through the process.
Discrimination is
and they are
discrimination.
suffering.
But
I
it's
do
not
have
just
empathy
It's
for them.
discrimination.
It's
It's
not just
But that's where
people.
I'm just talking about in the conversation for this particular conversation. And I understand what you're saying because you're absolutely right.
It's
There are more people
complicated.
that
Even
are
among
doing that.
adults, we all
But-
do different things in
but-
our transition. Some of us
correct.
want bottoms, some of us don't, some of us want tops, some of us don't.
I
So
understand,
you
but-
need a lot of time as an adult to figure out what you want to do.
But see, the thing is, though, some adults don't even understand what they want to do. So that's the
Exactly.
kind
So
of the
how can a
thing.
child?
But
Period.
the children,
I wanna touch
wait a
on
minute,
one
let's
thing
not,
you said.
let's not
Fucking planet.
underestimate the power of these kids today, okay? They are very much more educated because they have much more resources and access than we did
Wow.
coming up. So let's be
So
very
they're
clear about
advanced
that.
and they can
when we
consent.
talk
Who
about
else
these
says that?
transitioners, that was been the
Okay,
main
pause.
topic.
And this is about the time in the debate where her grammar started making me suicidal. Right, because like it's the way that she places words and sentences. It's like listening to Yoda if she were tall and aggressive.
Yeah,
Like
I can't believe like she's trying to say that like the children they have more resources now so they can make informed consent. Like we are in a time we are in the most confusing time ever where there is so much misinformation literally everywhere. Kids are they're in echo chambers, so of course like they're gonna
Yes.
look and research information and they're gonna find information that suits what the algorithm wants them to learn. Like that is just such an ignorant take.
she's got a lot of those. Yeah, I mean that whole everything that she said, this whole debate is an ignorant take. Like it's
It's, my God.
like, look, I'll come for people, okay? Like I've been watching Blair White for 11 years. I've been conditioned for this. Like I'm just like when I'm put on a platform like that, I would like to respect Jubilee's platform. Here they can't do nothing to me. Okay. All right, let's go. Oh,
Here
yeah.
or whatnot, because we
But
want
it's
to bring
not
these
now.
transitioners in to the room, so there's a space. Thank you.
To your point about the reason why I'm against it is because, like you said, the children need to go through the proper steps, the parents, the doctors, but in the state of California, if you, as a parent, tell your minor, no, you're not getting this, I'm not affirming your gender, I'm taking your kids away, and California is going to raise your kids for you. So
Canada
how's
too.
that?
Canada too.
That's not right.
We also know that like all those safeguards that you're talking about, they're not happening.
Yeah, that's
They're
what
not
I'm saying.
happening at all.
California will
and
take your
we
kids.
we know because there was a whistleblower out of St. Louis, and this isn't some conservative whistleblower. She was married to a trans man, and she considers herself
pause.
queer. So she
This woman that she's speaking about, she describes herself as further left than Hillary Clinton. Let's make sure that we make that very clear.
So she's more left than a murderer. Got it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
She blew the whistle and said that they had an in-house doctor. If you couldn't find a affirming therapist to sign off on the form, they would pencil whip it.
But do you believe that it should happen? Do you believe there should be a process when it comes to medical transition?
No,
We have to
there's no
stop
right
it, so,
process for
yeah.
kids to hack
Oh,
off
no,
their
I was asking
breasts.
her, honey. I'm sorry.
No,
I was
no.
asking
Well,
her.
I answered because
No,
I'm
you
here in
don't.
the room, so.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like personally, like if we're talking about like a 12-year-old getting top surgery, like to me that's just like medical malpractice. Because I know for me, like to get top surgery, like I can only get it at 18 because my insurance covered at 18. But I had to start that process like long before. Like even hormones was a long process. So I think there's like an area of literal like medical malpractice because no like kid at that age should be getting that in my opinion because you do not know. But I do think there are instances where like a 16 or 17-year-old like could get it. And I don't know if that means like banning like below 16 or like whatever, but.
So in the UK, it was the, I can't remember what it was. It's the reason why they're shutting down the Tavistock clinic in the UK though, is because they found that when you start a child on hormone, or on puberty blockers, then hormones, it's basically a foregone conclusion that they're gonna end up having surgery. It puts them on a path to, it's a sunk cost fallacy.
I just, again, I don't understand this obsession with
Obsession.
other people's children.
It's about caring about kids.
I'm talking. Oh my God.
Period.
It's
Get it
obsession.
together.
I have it together.
Levitating. I was about to
No,
start levitating.
The obsession with the conservatives about other people's kids. If it is your child, it is your choice what you do with your kid.
Just to talk about someone who's at 16 and their level of consent in the state of California, from my understanding, someone who's 16 can also drop out of high school, which would severely affect their life. And they have access to that decision if they want to, because say they want to get into the job market or whatever their reason is, but they have that option to make that choice at 16. I will agree with you that someone at 12, I'd be uncomfortable with somebody at 12 years old getting surgery completely because there's still a lot of the world for them to learn about themselves, how to navigate it, et cetera, et cetera. But for us to have access to be able to drop out of high school if we wanted to, and make such a life-changing decision that could affect, you economically, socially, so many different ways.
Yeah, well, I dropped out.
But then to say, you know what, you're not old enough to make this decision, for me, again, as somebody who was 16 and was in such a religious family and all the restrictions that I had, if I didn't have access to those things, I don't know if I would be here. And I've learned a lot through my transition and through my access. And I even grew up in the wild, wild west where everything was still on YouTube and we didn't really even have medical providers really even giving us guidance, and especially trans men. So I find it rather uncomfortable that we're able to make a 16-year-old be able to make that type of decision. An 18-year-old is allowed to go into service, but for some reason we can't give that same access to a kid to have that consciousness. Because I can tell you at 16, I knew who I was. I'm not at 12, not at 14, but 16, there's a certain level of consciousness and experience that you've experienced in society that you understand the pocket you fit in.
But just because other bad things happen doesn't mean that that is okay. It's like, so just because they can drop out of school means they should be able to cut their breasts off?
Non-binary should not be considered under the trans umbrella.
Here he comes.
Oh boy, look at her jump at
I think that the concept of a transgender umbrella is inherently an issue, right? Because when you're talking about something as nuanced, complex, full of social dynamics, medical dynamics, so many things to be considered. When you're talking about a transsexual, you should really be specific, right? And this entire concept actually of transgender is relatively new. Like, it came about in the 70s or 80s through queer theory, when originally it was about transsexuals, which was considered a medical diagnosis, which was a medical process, and it's defined something very specific. So for me, when I hear that non-binary, which, if I'm to understand correctly, means that
androgynous.
Right, and it means you identify somewhere in between male and female. That's not what a transsexual is.
The definition of a trans person is somebody whose body has been altered, or somebody who identifies as a different gender whose body has been altered via hormones or surgery.
And there's two genders, so if you want to say, you identify as a different gender, it has to be one of those two, which would make you a transsexual if you're actually trans. I think it makes about as much sense as saying that bisexual is under the straight umbrella. It's like, no, that's a separate thing. And I think there's beauty in being separate things. There's beauty in having your own lanes. And my concern is There's so much, clearly, as we see today, really heated conversations about trans people that when you start adding in queer theory, non-binary, it just makes it muddy, and the people at home, hello, don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Here's the thing about a lot of the people who identify as non-binary, so to speak. When they do so, they typically don't medically transition.
Right.
And when you do so, at that point, it's a costume.
Well,
Like-
it's gender nonconformity, right? And so we,
Because they can
Blair's
take
saying-
this off. I can't take this off.
Yeah, as Blair's saying, we look at gender nonconformity, which used to be okay. You can wear what you want. You can present however you want, but it doesn't make you something different. You can't, you know, as Blair was saying, it comes out of queer theory, which is postmodern neo-Marxism, which means that there's no such thing as absolute truth. They don't believe there's truth, so it kind of erodes the structure of society. And it's actually really regressive in a lot of ways, because you end up getting it to where it's literally based off of stereotypes, which we've tried to for so long get rid of. Like, it's okay to be gender nonconforming male or gender nonconforming female, and that didn't make you non-binary, it didn't make you trans.
When I meet a trans person, right, like a trans woman, a trans man, there is an inherent camaraderie. Like when you mentioned, I can't take this off, part of me almost got a little bit emotional. I know it's hard to believe
This is
people
the
can't have
moment.
emotions, but I really do. And because I saw you in that moment, and I said, you know what, we are similar in that way. We may be different in other ways, we don't know each other very well, but we have that. When I talk to, or I'm around a non-binary person, it doesn't really click, it doesn't connect because it is so different. So I think that's inherently, I should be able to see some semblance of my own issue within that person, and I don't when they're non-binary at all.
And so I have no issue with non-binary people, I just don't think that we're the same.
Yeah, same.
And so when like I was saying before, like when our acceptance rate has completely been destroyed because these people are initiating violence in our name, they're gonna self-ID out of the category, and then we're gonna be the ones left holding the bag.
Yeah, it's just, if sex is a binary and you're neither.
I think that's a great point Sarah brought up there too, is like, if you play the fence, then that just proves that you're always giving yourself a safety net. Like you're not committing to it. Like being trans is a huge commitment. Like, of course I'm not speaking for you, but like from an objective perspective,
It
like,
is.
yeah, so like to be non-binary, I can see how it would
I mean,
be
this
insulting
isn't
to
a
trans
tattoo.
person. Yeah.
This isn't a tattoo. This isn't a piercing. This isn't something that can be lasered off. Okay, you can't, like, I couldn't just stop taking testosterone tomorrow and be like, okay, I'm gonna be a girl again, and then go out into society and just be a woman again. Because that's not how the fuck that works, right? Because this isn't a costume. This is a life-changing decision. So.
And that's so interesting because like I agree with you. Like obviously I can't really completely understand because I'm not trans, but I agree with you that like it's not a costume, and these non-binary people shouldn't take, the commitment that you've made and wear it as a costume just to whenever it benefits them so they can get a minority card. But I think it's interesting that is a very valid argument, but that's also the argument that so many women are having, like, no, like do not wear, like that's why women hate Dylan Mulvaney, because they think Dylan Mulvaney is using the woman as a costume.
Well, see, here's the thing. I have a different view on Dylan Mulvaney than a lot of people, especially on the right. Because, like, in terms of comedy, I think she's funny. Like, I think she's funny. I think she reminds me of, like, a good old, like, vodka aunt, Like, I think her comedy sense is there, right? It's just, like, I can understand what women are saying when they come out against, like, what she does in terms of describing womanhood. I don't think that that's really her place to speak on. But other than that, her comedy, she's pretty funny. She's pretty fucking funny. I'll give her that.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Of
See what we
those,
got.
then you're not trans.
Hello.
Here they come.
I think it would be really hard for a cis person to truly imagine what it's like to be trans and what it's like to live with that and be born that way. And I'm not non-binary, and so I really cannot picture what it would, because I'm a binary trans person. I can't imagine what it's like to be in between that. But just like how the cis person can't really truly understand that, it doesn't mean that it's not a thing and it's not real. And I really believe that we have like 85 years like on this earth, and like so many people spend so much time being like sad and uncomfortable in their bodies. And if we were just all comfortable, like if somebody like wants to go by a name and like dress a certain way and they are saying, this makes me so comfortable, this is what makes me happy, there is no reason they shouldn't do that. And my God, there is no
Shut
reason why we should say,
up.
well, you're not a part of this because like this is us and like this is whatever. Because literally like we could all sit here and agree that like non-binary people are like not a part of the trans community or whatever, which is not my opinion.
This kid is
But we
obviously
could,
like a
that doesn't like
Zoomer
change anything. Like there's a whole, we have a
Duh.
vast community.
who has
And
no
I
respect
believe that
for
non-binary
trans
people are a
elders.
part of the community because I have so many
No.
shared experiences with so many non-binary people I
I
know.
don't know how old
We have
this person
very
is.
similar
You
experiences
know,
in growing
he could
up
be
with
12 or he could
dysphoria,
be 30.
with transition, with anything, and nobody has to do anything. Nobody has to transition in a way they don't want to transition. And yeah, like let's be a happy family. My God, let's all just be happy. That's my vibe.
No.
Yeah, or fight the fight together.
Yeah, like
because
let's do
honestly,
it. Like
We have
unite.
separate fights, though. That's the thing.
No, we
I don't
don't.
know if it
We're
is.
weakening our borders by creating this divide within our own community. This is so silly. Look, I actually understand like a lot of the points that are being made here from the conservative side because I grew up conservative. I voted when I was 18. I voted for fucking Bush. Y'all. Damn,
girl.
Like I was conservative.
Damn, bro.
Okay.
So we're the same age.
So it was not until my later age that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of decided, like, you know what, let me be more open to different types of communication, different types of people. I actually talked so much shit about pronouns. Like they, them, all this. I was like, what is this trash? When it first started really coming out, I did not agree with it. I was like, what is this? This is stupid. How can you be a them? Blah, blah,
Okay,
blah,
when
blah.
it first started
And the
coming
whole
out, I
thing, the
agreed with
grammatically
it, and now I don't. So
You're
what's
interrupting.
But you were correct. I'm
But
just saying. I'm agreeing with
They
you.
asked you not to comment, and you're commenting. So if you could stop, that would be great. Thank you. So anyway, as I was saying,
levitating.
you know, so I
was
changed
about to
my
summon
mind
the
because
spirit
I
of
got to
Vecna.
spend time around other people who were non-binary, who were non-conforming, and I got to speak with them, and I got to experience their life and their experiences, and then I realized myself, I'm like, shit, maybe this is what I've been experiencing my whole life, only because I was exposed to it. If I would have never been exposed to it, I would have never known that this could have
Dude,
been my
the
experience.
funniest thing
and I would
is
have
if
lived
I would
the
have
rest of
bucked
my
up
life
at that section of
as a
people, all
different
the
person, as
stools
somebody
would have
who
fallen over.
I'm not. And it's funny that you keep talking, that some people keep
It would have
talking
been a
about,
caricature.
oh, you need to go through HRT, you need to have surgeries in order to be trans. That is all garbage.
Another thing I never said. It's just so crazy.
I
Again,
said that.
you're still interrupting me while I'm talking. This is the second
You're
time now.
addressing me,
This
and
is
you-
the second time now.
If you can claim someone said something they didn't say, they should be able to correct you in the moment.
Do you feel good now that you said what you needed to say?
I feel fine.
Okay, well
Wonderful.
you're
I'm sitting pretty, I'm
attacking
fine.
her for something
So,
I said.
I mean, sometimes it's like the power that needs to hold me
I
back.
mean, you're
because
appropriating a medical condition. That's what you're really doing.
I exist. I am proof
Period.
that non-binary people
Okay,
exist.
yes, you
and that it
exist, and
is
you're
a
not
thing.
non-binary.
And because I'm sitting right here in
Problem
front of all of
solved.
you, all of you, I'm a real person. This is my experience, just as yours, just as yours is the trans experience. That as a trans woman, as a trans man, or as whatever. But I'm not here to belittle your experience or to tell you that you don't exist. And that's the difference between you and I, that you're trying to cancel you. And when I say you, I'm talking about conservatives. And maybe it is you. You're part of the thing. You're part of the thing. So
Here's where I
why-
get to
so why
interject
is it
because there's
not
a lot of
okay?
things said about
Stop
me.
addressing her and just talk to everybody.
But what is your dysphoria?
Well, there was some things. Okay. So another complete. I don't want to say the word lie, but I,
I
guess
wish
that's what
they
it
had
is
shown the
about what I've
moment,
said here.
Like,
right?
because there were moments that were good, right? There were moments that were wholesome, and there was this one time, like halfway through the debate, where I had just like we had just stopped. She had yelled cut, and I was like, all right, I think we all need a cigarette, and just the whole room laughed. It was like the first good moment I think in like 2 hours. It was wonderful.
Did you guys
I
get a
was
break
like-
or what?
I did end up getting me a cigarette break finally. It was you know, I just thought, you know, I thought we all needed a cigarette because fuck, damn, we were all sweating like, and they got us sick, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got us sick, all of us.
Oh my god, I wonder who is the sick one there.
All of them. It's just their demonic energy.
True. Oh man. We're
right.
let's see, about 3/4 of the way done, so you're doing great. Then
we
you
got
get a
this.
cigarette.
It's okay, I'm smoking right now.
All right, there you go.
I never said you don't exist. So we can add that to the long list of things y'all have said. I've said that I didn't. We know you exist. You're here. You're not fictitious, right? My point is you're different than me, and I don't even think you deny that, but yet when I say it, it's an issue, right? The same way that he said he can't take that off, you can, right? It's different. At the very least, it's different. And when we have a community that there are so many categories, demi-girl, demi-boy, astrosexual, all this shit, but y'all can't fathom that maybe that would be a different category than what I am when we have such different, as you keep saying, and everyone keeps saying, experiences? It doesn't make sense. A bisexual is different than a gay man.
Can I ask a question? I just actually want to ask you a question. What is your dysphoria, though? Because gender dysphoria, or sex dysphoria, as I would rather call it, is an uncomfortability between my secondary sex characteristics, not just what I wear on a daily basis, because masculinity and femininity doesn't have anything to do with being trans.
But that's not true. But that is not true. You can have dysphoria without having to be dysphoric about your sex parts.
But what is your
you
dysphoria?
Can have dysphoria
what is
about
your
anything.
dysphoria?
Straight cis women have dysphoria about their breasts all the time. They get breast augmentation.
It's not dysphoria.
That doesn't mean that I'm not dysphoric about certain things. That doesn't mean
dysphoria.
that. And you don't know my life. You're not in my life.
Well, that's why I asked you a question.
You don't know what I experienced.
Well, you don't know
the
anybody
different things
else's
that I
life, but here you are
experienced.
fucking yelling. So you don't know anybody else's life. Like, you trying to come for it's just like the hypocrisy of all fucking four of them. I mean, Blossom especially. Like, and I feel like I've come for her finally. Gross. She's disgusting. Anyway, thankfully she's been quiet for a minute, but it's a fucking miracle. Shit. She was trying to say she had to like recharge her yelling battery. They damn died on her.
So I've heard two different words. There's dysphoric and then there's another word too.
Dysmorphic. But dysmorphia is like dysmorphia is the mental sensation that causes anorexia.
Oh, that's specific to anorexia?
Not necessarily. It's just kind of a broad statement, you know what I'm saying? It's like, or it's what causes some binge eating disorders as well.
Oh,
you know, it's
look, I'm trying to understand it a little better because, like, you know,
it doesn't inherently always cause eating disorders, but it is inherently a sign of an eating disorder.
So it's still being in your own biological sex, but like having a hatred for your body where you change it in an extreme manner.
Sometimes yes, or it just depends.
Okay.
It really just depends.
Because that's interesting to know because
dysphoria is an intense distaste for a specific characteristic. Or specific set of characteristics, at least to put it simply.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, that is very interesting to me because this is a little personal, but I actually got a reduction because I was very I grew up very quickly, I'll say. And
yeah, I'm sorry, girl.
It could be from, you know, the hormones ingested in our food, or, you know, it could be the water, or it could be genetics, you know, hard to say, but it was extremely mentally detrimental for me. You know, I was 14 and I looked 18, you know, so I was a target for a lot of creepos. And so it definitely caused me a lot of mental anguish. You know, I never had gender dysphoria, so I never thought I was supposed to be a boy, but it was a body part that made me want to change it in an extreme way. So what would that count as in your opinion?
Dysmorphia, but that's the thing. A lot of these medical professionals and trans rights activists are going to try and sell it as dysphoria when it's most of the time it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
As we've seen with the D-trans subreddit that's only just a growing and a growing.
Yeah, and I know for a fact I would have been a target of this movement, and they would
I know too.
They would have tried to push me into being a trans man, and I would have
even when I was a teenager. I may have even been like that because like that was what I had been told. You know, like yes, I did end up being, you know, actually trans, and I'll get into who's actually trans because I don't give a fuck. But like, you know. It just goes back to the being actually trans thing. You know what I'm saying? It like you got to call it out when you see it. That's all I'll say. You just got to call it out because
for sure
the way that they're manipulating young women nowadays, and like even you know I thank God every day that this was the right decision for me because. Like, there are just so many people, and it's so easy to be manipulated by those people because they use these big, fancy fucking buzzwords. And eventually, you know, for people with an IQ higher than 80, you know, they might start to pick up on this. Maybe I'm being manipulated right now, you know?
Yeah, and it's very. I think it's extremely important and thoughtful of you to share that. You know, you understand that you took a big risk, and
Yeah,
and it
because when
worked
I
for
was
you,
like,
but that's not
you know,
the norm.
here's the thing, right? If you told my grandfather 20 years ago that he was going to have a trans grandchild, he probably would have shot you. Okay? I'm just being real. But he was also the one who signed for me to go on testosterone when I was 15. So people change. I mean, but you know, he was also manipulated as well. Because I just posed this question to you, what if I had made a mistake?
Yeah, exactly.
What
And I think
because there are so many people who did.
I think it's really mature of you to even recognize that, because unfortunately a lot of the people that are in the movement that pretend that they're trans and they're not, they want to completely ignore the fact that it is a huge
Demi
risk.
Lovato. Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato.
Is she a non-binary, or is she saying
Well,
she's
actually,
trans?
no. She did it for a while, but she ended up going back on that statement. But you know, I would assume the kids that she, you know, influenced to make this life-altering decision probably didn't make it out. Some of them without missing body parts. So, you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's really irresponsible for influencers to push it, for sure.
Well, I
Especially when
don't
they're
know
not
that
sure
we should be
themselves.
listening to Demi Lovato about anything because y'all know her overdose caused brain damage, right? Which is sad. Like, I'm not using this to hate on Demi. I'm just saying, like it did, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I'm saying? If you know, maybe that had something to do with that whole situation. That's all I'm saying. You know, at least a little bit, because you got to remember Demi Lovato grew up this beautiful, you know, pretty singer. You know, like she like had great opportunities, and you know, you see it all the time, and you know, the ones who end up being the most famous are usually the worst of the group. You know, you've got your Miley Cyrus's, who is actually doing great now. Um, you know, you've got people like Demi Lovato, and you've got, you know, Justin Bieber's of the world.
Lindsay
But you
Lohan,
know, oh God, I wasn't gonna go there, but
the Olsen twins.
yeah, I feel like it's still a little too soon on the Olsen twins, as long as it's been. But yeah, I guess I'm talking about more like child stars specifically, but you know, or Disney stars in particular. But you've also got your like Lee Allen Bakers of the world. You know, I don't know if you know who
Oh,
that is.
no, I don't. Who is that?
The mom from Good Luck Charlie.
Oh.
Yeah, she's like a conservative activist now, and of course she's not on Disney no more because they don't like that. But you know, like she's doing great, but she's obviously not getting nearly the amount of exposure that your Miley Cyruses and your Demi Lovatos are getting because she's doing the right thing, and people, you know, especially the general population, they want the heat.
One more thing before we continue on the child star thing. I actually recently watched an interview with one of the Cole brothers from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, one of those twins, and he was talking about like how he's pretty mentally fucked up from being a Disney star, you know, completely stole his childhood because his mom was a narcissist and wanted them to be rich, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get his standpoint, but I also feel like he should kind of shut the fuck up because there are people who would, there were people who would kill for that fucking opportunity. But you know, I understand that you didn't make the choice yourself, but fucking parents sexually assault and abuse their kids every day. I'm sorry, your mom put you on Disney Channel. Cry me a ocean.
There are definitely worse things.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, okay, let's do it.
Personally,
I cannot believe that I grew up as, you know, this 5-year-old little kid experiencing just crippling gender dysphoria, like horrible thoughts, struggled so much my entire life to be sitting in this room and you're explaining to her what dysphoria is.
I have my experience. It
It's
doesn't mean that I didn't
amazing.
have crippling.
You got a different
It
experience.
doesn't mean
You got a
I
different
fucked up.
experience.
We all have a different. We all
Sir,
have
you're
a
so
different
angry right now that you
experience.
can't speak.
I know, but we're all both not.
Different things. That's it. It's that simple.
We don't identify as our gender at birth.
Obviously, I'm not a non-binary person, so I can't speak for non-binary people, but I can talk about what I've been taught by non-binary people. From what I understand, when it comes to some non-binary people, sometimes they have to go into the gender binary for safety reasons, depending on the environment that they're in.
She
A
belongs in the
non-binary
drag
person
queen
stepping
story
into
hour.
this world and dismissing the gender norms of what people think a man and a woman is supposed to be like is so powerful. If you don't want to be mutable to the times of the expansion of the trans and non-binary experience, then just say that. I would rather you just say that you are not willing to move forward, learn the new terminology, learn the new pronouns that come with the trans umbrella and the trans experience for the most part. And also, it's
She's having a stroke. Just letting y'all know.
Oh man.
If you didn't understand what she said, don't worry. Nobody fucking else in the room did either. So, okay, continue.
What? What's up,
She's just
Riddle?
having
Hey,
a stroke.
Stacy. Yes, there are only two genders. Yeah, here's my opinion on that. You know, I personally think that if there weren't two genders, then I think that saying there aren't two genders invalidates the trans experience too. You know, it's insulting. I can't be insulted for trans people, but I would imagine it is. What's your opinion
If you
when
don't,
people say
if there are only two genders, right? If you're not transitioning to become a man or a woman, what the fuck are you transitioning to? Nothing. You're not transitioning to anything. You're just wearing random ass shit.
Yeah.
And making up fucking new grammar that nobody's gonna play with. I'm not playing that shit. You're not gonna make me look like a moron. No. I'm not gonna adjust the way that humans have been conditioned to speak for thousands of years so you can feel special. No.
Just
Get a
chat,
hobby.
just so you know, you need to respect Andrew's pronouns. His pronouns are yeehaw.
Yeah. I was trying so hard to be straight too.
Okay.
I was trying.
I'm sorry.
Yo.
One more thing. And also, too, there are non-binary people who have different sexual orientations. Let's also name that, too. There are so many layers of nuance that we could really get to when it comes down to the root of what being non-binary is.
But what's the definition?
That doesn't make them trans.
My big thing when it comes to, you know, I agree with a lot of the things that you just said. I actually love you. I adore you.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you.
But
yeah, see, I did love
here's
her
the thing.
for a minute. I did love her. I really did. And she made me so sad all throughout this video. And by the end of it, I was just like, done. I was done.
So where is this? I'm sure they cut and spliced this in all different like
I honestly
time frames.
don't
When
even
was
fucking
this?
know. Like they've kind of they did some random shit. Like nothing is in the same place that I remember it being. This was keep in mind this was like a 2.5, 3 hour shoot. So there are just so many things that I don't even fucking recognize because at that point I was Delulu. And I do love her. I still have respect for her for the most part. It's just she's disrespectful. She's gross. She needs to clean it up. She's not gonna fucking talk to me like that.
Yep. So rude to you, Blair and Sarah. Just
Yeah, the whole fucking time. Like, but you see, I'm a respectable young man. Like, I don't have to step into that like toxic masculinity space that you see her step into this whole entire debate.
Sheesh. Got him.
Right.
Right. That's not the prompt. The prompt was, is it different? And it is. Again, when I go out, I can't like take my beard off, girl. It's not coming off.
Right.
I mean,
You know,
I can shave it. I did shave it,
unfortunately, you know, as much as I hate having facial hair despite being a guy, you know, like
Real.
it. Like I can't go and reshape my body. I can't go and shave my Adam's apple down. I've been on this since I was 15. What if it had gone wrong?
So I have an interesting experience with non-binary myself, as someone who has presented as a binary trans man. I also don't take testosterone. So for me, especially throughout my transition, I took testosterone for a short period of time just to get the beard and the aesthetics that I wanted to in my transition. And once I reached those goals, I personally didn't want to lose my access to being able to give birth to a kid, especially with being with my wife for 17 years. We've been wanting to have
like
autoandrophilia. We've heard of autogynephilia. One of the
Yeah.
less common ones is autoandrophilia.
What's that?
It is simply the arousal or rush that some women get when presenting as a man. They're attracted to themselves as men, similar to autogynephilia.
Got you.
But it's like, you need a doctor.
Yeah,
Me.
I just vehemently like disagree with this individual, like to the
First of all,
bottom of my soul.
you can't like fuck around with that shit. First of all, like,
Yeah, like I cannot believe like this person would be so selfish to think that, yeah, maybe he's off of hormones now, but like too fucking late, buddy. Like you want to be a man, guess what? Men can't get pregnant and you fucked with your body. And so to have a child would be extremely irresponsible and extremely selfish. And wow, I did not expect that one.
yeah, that's fucked up. Yeah.
Oof.
One of the most common symptoms of long-term testosterone use in females is vaginal atrophy. It almost killed Buck Angel. He has a video on his YouTube channel about it. You can go watch it. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, they're living in an echo chamber. And then these people start to find out these things for themselves, and that's where you get these statistics from, and it's just sad. That's what it is. It's really
Yeah,
sad.
it's terrible. And the child and this person would suffer, and that also like messes with my perception too. Like, how can you fucking say that you expect the world and society? So I'm about to pop off for a second. I'm heated about this one personally because I want to have a child one day. How can you expect the world to respect your pronouns? Like, yeah, this guy passes, so okay, but like you want me to double think my own brain into respecting your pronouns, but you want to be pregnant one day? You want to be the pregnant man? Like, no. it's triggering, man. I'm triggered.
No, because actually, let me not go there on YouTube. Let me not go there on YouTube.
Explain like I'm 5. That's YouTube language.
There's no way to explain, like, you wouldn't explain this to a 5-year-old, so.
That's true. Good answer.
You just wouldn't do it. So,
yeah, all right, I'll move on. I'm getting heated.
yeah, it's just gross.
Kids,
it's gross.
I wanted to, have a backup uterus, so to speak. And in that
backup uterus, a backup uterus.
Thought about myself and my
You're
own
talking about it like
identity
it's a
of
storage
what is a
unit.
man, what
Oh
is
my
a woman.
god!
And for me,
if I had been sitting next to, I could see your face right now. Your face is like, like, I can even tell you, like, he did not just say that.
I'm
shit.
crying.
If I had been there, oh my god! Can you guys see my face is getting red? I am livid.
Issue in the conversation, there's kind of two things happening. Simultaneously, our community is infighting with each other instead of looking outwardly at these structural systems that are actually truly affecting us with laws, politics, access to medical care, and etc. While simultaneously, we see that the idea of fitting into the patriarchal structures, the misogyny, everything that is kind of placed in us.
He's trying to say
subscribe to that.
The patriarchy, the patriarchal structure, but also a bonus uterus. Like you're trying to say that you fight against the patriarchal structure right now, but you're literally trying to say that your parts are what make you have a baby, and that you have a bonus uterus just in case. Excuse me?
I mean, that's just, like, I guess I kind of feel that way in a sense, but that's just, you just don't talk about that.
Like, that...
And you definitely don't say it in such a disgusting way.
I all my life have been breaking the rules of what a gender ideology is just by my pure existence.
Like, nobody asked.
I didn't grow up with the idea of knowing what trans was.
Do you even remember
life.
what the prompt was? Because I don't.
I didn't discover that through some collegiate access to college or influence from others. There was no one around me that knew or that I knew it was trans. I discovered that myself. But as I've aged in my transition, because I've been trans for damn near almost 20 years now, I've discovered my own fluidity in that area because I actually enjoy my female side too.
Doctors are manipulating
ahead.
trans medical care.
I think there's three types of doctors out there.
Clowns.
I think there are the ones who absolutely think that they're doing this for the right reasons. I think that there are the ones who are absolutely doing it for money, like we saw at Vanderbilt. The people at Vanderbilt literally said this is a huge moneymaker. And then I think that there are, I don't know if it's incompetence or ineptitude or laziness. Because what we're seeing, not just in the trans community, we're seeing in society, SSRIs being pushed on patients. Mental health doctors are pushing so many different drugs without getting to the root issues.
See, I have an interesting perspective on this. I've been out for 11 years this year. I've been on testosterone since I was 15 years old. And even looking into it, I waltzed my little ass up into that doctor's office and I left on testosterone. He gave me my first shot in the doctor's office that day. Oh my gosh. I was 15 years old. What if I had been wrong? What if I had been wrong? It really just is that simple.
I'm joining mid-convo.
Wow, nice to see you.
Because I think like I don't think it's like a huge widespread issue, but I think when we have like a for-profit healthcare system, it does happen. Like I feel like there are I believe that people should be evaluated and go through tests. And like for me, getting on testosterone and getting surgery was a massive process in my life. But I do think that it probably happens. Just like you said, like with SSRIs and stuff, like things are overprescribed.
So I do think it's a massive issue. I think that society in general, as Sarah mentioned, is over-medicalized right now. We're in this weird climate where there are entire political movements behind if you do or you don't have a vaccine, you can't enter this building if you do, you can if you do, you know, it's like crazy. But, you know, when it comes to the trans issue, I think just the fact that there were really almost no detransitioners as recent as like 5-6 years ago, and the fact that it's exploded now shows that it is a massive issue. And, you know, I think that I can reflect what you said. I was over 18 when I started my hormones, but I had a 20-minute appointment, and just like you, I walked in and out with an estrogen prescription. Insane. I wasn't tested for my levels.
I didn't have to see a therapist first. I had no letter.
And you were a child.
I was a child.
Crazy.
I was
So,
15
and
years
that
old.
is a very,
in
very
one of the most
common-
conservative states in the country. So if that's what's going on
Wow.
in Georgia,
Damn. Wow.
imagine what's going on everywhere else.
California, hello.
Yeah, when I went for my initial appointment, I literally helped my doctor find gender dysphoria on his chart and mark it for me.
That's insane.
And I walked out with my prescription that day.
I mean, because I do a lot of work with the D-trans community, and the problem is I actually don't really care too much about, you know, if you are an adult and you walk into a doctor's office and want estrogen and you walk out, I don't think that's an issue. What is an issue is when doctors are not giving all the information, when they're actually telling you that this is what's right for you, and then it's not. They're actually manipulating their patients. They're manipulating, you know, they say if you don't do this, you're gonna kill yourself, and all this stuff. So I would actually rather a doctor say, I have no idea what this is gonna do to you, but it's your body, your choice, you can do what you want, and then leave you on your way and you can make that decision.
Right.
I think they're not asking the patient why. Why do you feel this way? It's a simple question.
Another thing I was never informed of, you know, when I started my hormone journey, and now it seems, you know, like common sense, but I was, you know, 20, so it's like, you know, even 20-year-olds can have oversights. No one told me I had to freeze my sperm.
That's crazy.
So
Remember you
I'm
talked
years
about that.
into estrogen. I reached the point of adulthood where you maybe meet a partner where that might be something you want to do. And I learned that I can't. And it's simply because that doctor didn't care to tell me. And why, who knows? Maybe it was because of money. It was easier for him or better for him to get me in and out and get that money rather than maybe a couple more appointments where I'm having to figure out, you know, how to freeze my sperm in the meantime. But a lot of these doctors are also activists.
They also don't tell trans men that they're going to go through menopause.
Right. There's a lot of issues with trans men. Buck Angel talks about that.
He
a
almost
lot of
died.
issues.
Like,
Yeah,
he's
he
a
almost
friend
died.
of mine. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Insane.
There's a lot to take in on that section, for sure. Riddle says, did we just witness a red pill moment when one of the liberals came over to your side?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I think that one might be easily manipulated, though.
Oh, yeah?
I just have a feeling, I don't know, the way person gives off a very, not only innocent, but a very ignorant vibe. You know, everybody says ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like Blossom, except not as fucking loud.
Yeah. I had something to say about that. When Blair was talking about like how she wasn't informed that she would have to freeze sperm before she started estrogen. So, I mean, that's just another. I'm saying it again. That's just another fucking reason that is irresponsible to try to have a baby as a trans man. If you have to freeze your sperm before you start estrogen because doctors know that it would.
What the fuck happened to your eggs?
Yeah, exactly.
They're probably scrambled.
Yeah, exactly. You taking testosterone, you're scrambling your fucking eggs, bro. Like, if I would be totally, I mean, not totally, because it's so weird, but like, if a trans man froze their eggs before testosterone,
I would have some Addams Family babies if I tried to reproduce.
Exactly. Like, no offense, you're amazing.
I would create Chris Griffin,
But like, tell me if I'm out of line
extremely
here.
mentally disabled.
Like, is it out of line for me to say to a trans man, like, you accepted being a man?
The short-term studies, the only studies that we have right now are short-term studies, but they say that it has a pretty good chance of causing infertility, right? Imagine what the long-term studies are going to say about when it scrambles your eggs.
Exactly.
Okay, there's going to be so many like random ass like NPC sim creations of trans people.
Yeah, and that's on a physical level, but also like on an ideological level.
Like, this is going to cause birth defects. I'm sorry, but
it will. It will cause birth defects on a physical level, but on an ideological level as well. Like, doesn't that show like if you are a man, you know, if you're a trans man, then why would you want to be pregnant? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. For real. But hey, I'm not going to go there, right?
That is a woman's privilege. So.
I just feel like it's an inherently like female thing.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I have an ambiguous feeling about someone looking like Blair talking about freezing her sperm. Yeah, it definitely makes me do a double take, for sure. That's the double think seeping through,
I know, but she gives off like such a, it's similar to me, it's like such a convincing feminine energy that it's like, I refuse to believe that she can produce sperm. I refuse.
It's like, what did Alex Jones say? My body believes you're a woman. Or something like weird and creepy like that. Alex Jones got creepy with Blair White.
He doesn't even mean it though. He's just an old man. Like, remember, all our dads were creepy in the 80s, okay?
Like, no hate. I lost actually one of my long-term friends. Quick side note, because we had been friends since college, okay? Years and years, over a decade. Because he said that people, not even that I watch Alex Jones, but influencers that I watch Alex Jones. So we got a huge conflict. Well, actually, our friendship ended because I tried to warn him about atrazine.
I just love him because he reminds me of my dad. Like all the stupid ass conspiracy shit. Like, I love it. I'll sit there and listen to it for hours. I would give anything to listen to my dad ramble about fucking UFOs again.
Jeffrey says, did not know about the menopause thing. Yeah, that's something that must be really hard for you. Like, what do you feel about that?
What a lot of and I don't even think a lot of the doctors realize it, but like you get like hot flashes and shit. Like real ass menopause. Like, and even some trans men don't really know what's going on because they're so young. But yeah, baby, you're going through menopause. That's what's going on.
So do the hormones you take, does that accelerate the menopause? Like, would you get menopause younger then? Like, sorry,
I mean, it stops. For me, it stopped after a while.
You got it already?
Yeah.
Whoa, my brain.
I mean, it started instantly. Like, when your period stops, you're gonna be going through some shit.
Interesting.
You're going through some shit.
So it pushes a menopause, so you don't. Again, if this is too much, if I'm prying too much, please tell me to shut up.
No, I'm literally an underwear model. So, and, like, I've done porn. You can't scare me.
So you got menopause, so now you don't have a period anymore?
No.
Wow.
It's been wonderful. It's been glorious. Best fucking
testosterone is one hell of a drug.
Oh, it's been glorious.
And again, that information only further pushes my fucking point that you should not have a baby if you're a trans man. Obviously.
Can I tell y'all some TMI trans shit on this channel? Y'all want to hear something gross?
You know, choose your words wisely is all I would say.
Okay. So let me say this. My doctor told me that I was going to experience vaginal dryness. That was a fucking lie. That was a
Oh,
lie. That was a lie. That was a lie.
oof.
Okay.
Oof. Okay.
That- yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
and keep in mind, I've talked to so many other trans men about this, and they agree. It's such a lie. Like I don't know. There might be like some 500-year-old been trans since like Buck May. Buck May experienced dryness.
Oh, I see. So you are
Buck is
saying that
old.
you're healthy in that way, at least.
Yes,
All
well, at
right.
least for the, I mean, it still causes atrophy. It doesn't mean it doesn't cause atrophy because I experience atrophy and I'm young. Like, like some of the symptoms, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell people this because they need to hear it, are like cramps, like especially after intercourse, especially,
Wow.
like it's just, you'll feel like, or it'll just be like at random intervals, those cramps,
Huh.
like that you're feeling, that's not normal.
Is
You
it
need to go to
like
the
does
doctor.
it feel like period cramps or does it feel like a different kind of
Yes,
cramp? Oh,
but
really?
yes.
Wow.
But it's like they're like contractions.
Wow.
Like it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's fucked up.
This is wild. This is wild, bro.
No, I want people to have this info because there are literally trans men who may be watching this right now who just don't know this stuff.
Yeah,
Who
no,
might be
I think
going
it's good
There are
to know.
people who might be going through menopause right now that don't know it.
Right.
Like
That's honestly kind of terrifying, like, and scary that like a healthy young person who's in their 20s can experience forced menopause through testosterone. Like that's scary.
I mean, there's a lot of other bad shit that it can cause. Why would that not be one of them? Your
Yeah.
period stopping, that's what menopause means.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Menopause.
It makes
Like
sense. It makes sense. It's just something I never thought
yeah,
about,
I
you
mean,
know?
it's, yeah. You're at a higher risk for cancers because you've stopped, ovulating so young or stopped producing sperm so young.
Whew.
Yeah, no, it's
Thank you
real.
for sharing that. All right, let's continue.
So let's do it.
So I actually almost walked up first because I do feel like the system is like pretty broken and there's not enough education in the medical system for doctors to be prescribing all the things that they do. Again, discussing SSRIs, like I was a victim of that myself. And so, I empathize for those stories. I understand that that does happen. I'm not negating that. But I think to negate, medical service to somebody who needs it, who it might be life or death for, just because you feel some type of way about it, isn't right. Like, why do you care what, little Timothy or Sally are doing or whatever? Like, why do you personally care what?
Well, Timothy and
Well, they're
Sally are 8
children,
and 12, so.
Okay. Sorry, we're doing no comments.
But we're not talking about children 7 or 12.
If the
and this
volume
doesn't
was too low
happen
for the
often.
chat,
Has it
I was
happened?
like,
Yeah, it has, because that's the thing.
Timmy and
It's a
Sally are
big
8 and
world.
12. So
Like, things happen all the time, things we can't even imagine happen. It just is a reality. But again, to walk through a door and then close it for other people to walk through, that's kind of messed up, in my opinion.
So to your point for being able to receive hormone therapy in the way that you did, I had a similar experience. I was able to walk in and get access to hormones. And that system was set up through advocacy because of what a lot of community folks are actually facing when it comes to access to hormones, access to medical care, access to all of these things.
And
So a
get a
lot of these
job.
nonprofits actually got rid of a lot of the red tape because for some
Like,
individuals like myself who
if
was actually
you don't
homeless
have
during
help,
my
I
transition
don't know how people
process,
just walk
I would have
around in
never
this
been able
world
to
without
afford
health insurance.
access or get through all of this process. Now, can I admit that there is some medical malpractice? Yes, I myself had issues obtaining testosterone consistently. For some reason, the script doesn't match up, or you got to get in contact with the doctor. And
I
it's
mean,
part of the
yeah,
reason
but
why I
that's
chose
your
actually
fucking
to go
fault.
off testosterone, because I didn't like the idea of not having constant access.
You
Because I
know
was
they
worried about
slow.
the damage that it could cause to my body, and also because I wanted to keep intact my reproductive rights. From what I have seen when it comes to these detransitioners, from my understanding in terms of the statistics, trans people are 8% of the population, and then the detransitioners are somewhere
8%?
from 1 to 8%
Hang
as
on,
well.
pause.
So all of these
Pause. 8%? So you're telling me almost 1 in 10 people are trans? Girl, you a goddamn lie.
I mean, that's
I
what
know.
the statistics are saying. Obviously, that's not true.
I would believe like 1 or 2%. I would believe under 1%
It
most
has
likely,
gotten
but
so bad in the public school system. Like, I mean, chat
okay,
probably knows
well,
this. I think it's
okay, well,
one in
they don't
five.
count. The high school GSAs, they don't count.
They shouldn't count, but that's the thing.
That's just
They
that's our
are.
watch list. That's our watch list, so we know who doesn't count.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I agree that shouldn't count. But
Yeah,
that's
they're
where
children.
this guy is having these crazy numbers
Okay.
from, because 1 in 5 children are now identifying as trans or non-binary. 1 in 5.
Okay. Okay, well, Timmy and Sally are 8 and 12.
Yeah.
Timmy thought he was a lion yesterday. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, well, they don't count. We don't need it. While we're even running these studies, I would understand it maybe on adolescents and young adults. But, like, why we're even running these studies on children is fucking beyond me. Like, that's part of the problem.
That is the question, right? That's what this boils down to. It really does.
Yeah, I bless my younger cousin, and I'll say his name here, Johnny. I love you. You're my best friend. He is, bless his heart, he is in high school right now, and he is, they're the kids like back. I don't know when you graduated. I graduated back when the tail kids were first starting to appear. And from what I understand, it's just gotten thousands of times worse. Apparently, they have clubs for these kids now. So yeah, if you think your kids aren't being sexually indoctrinated by furries, think again.
Thank you. Thank you. You heard it here. Finally, someone's brave enough to say it. That shit is weird.
It is weird. Like, I mean, it's one thing, I guess, if you're playing Smokey the Motherfucking Bear, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one thing. But like, furryism is a religion.
Mm-hmm.
It is a cult. It is a kink.
And they're trying to say they're trans too. Like.
Well, okay, but those are just like two intermixing things, because those are both like far left, like subgenres of insanity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that. It's like the GSA kids and the furries are pretty much the same club.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's real. It's happening, and there's the litter box in the bathroom thing, and y'all can. There's probably gonna be some leftists that are like, "It didn't happen," and there's some debunk this, and no, it did. It did happen though, because the fact that it was even a conversation in the first place, yeah, it happened. It happened for sure. Like, we're not putting litter box in the bathroom. Use the bathroom that you look like. Get over it.
Yep.
These laws that are coming in is to affect the entire community as a broad, while the percentages that we're affecting people is so small. Well, simultaneously, if we looked at things like in the past, like HIV, with things like AZT drugs that were harming folks, those folks went through all of those processes and learned the research of what it was to properly take care of HIV through that unfortunate, horrible, horrific process.
I mean, it was basically chemo.
Yeah, I mean, AZT was killing people, and they had no clue what we're doing. Now, unfortunately, because trans people have not got access to medical transition as long, and especially in the transmasculine community, there's a lot of research that has not been done. So to a degree, yes, we are guinea pigs in the shot in the dark. But just like in the 80s when AZT was being discovered, or 90s when it's being discovered, those folks had to go through that process. And I was given informed consent and understood that when I signed that.
We just don't know, because the studies aren't there, like you said, right? So the problem is when you talk about like the detransition rate, what generally happens is there's no follow-up. The longest study that's been done is 5 years out. The average detransition happens between 4 and 10 years. So we're not capturing all of that. Plus, if you haven't had your primary sex organs removed, you literally just stop taking hormones, and then you never go see your doctor again. And so they never follow up, and you just fall off the rolls. So the stats on detransition is completely false.
So I want to say something. First of all, I want to empathize with everyone here when it comes to the healthcare system, because it's not always for us. I don't think that doctors are manipulating trans care. I think they're still learning about trans care. And to your point, there is not a lot of research, because the research is still new and fresh. You know, detransitioning is a thing, but truth be told, detransitioning is actually rare. when it comes to not just wanting to be trans anymore. Now, the underlying factors within that is health conditions.
Yeah, no.
I actually heard a trans man
that's
who
wrong.
is famous talk about. You know very well.
She
I
knows.
remember what y'all were saying.
She knows.
Because these issues are
Blair
very,
is
very real. But also, I think it's really because
She's pressed
doctors
right
are
now.
still learning
She's
about
turning
our
red.
experience.
So I just have to say some things that were brought up about detransitioners, which I found just a little bit ironic, right? Because for a community that is 1% or less of the general population, we can never seem to find it within ourselves to find empathy for it, even if it is the 1% of our community, which is detransitioners, and for the horrific medical malpractice, abuse, mental and spiritual turmoil they go through. It's like, so we want the rest of the world to say this 1% matters, but our 1% doesn't matter. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it's not as if they detransition because of, just like you said, the loosening of all the restrictions to get on these drugs. It's like, that's not a good thing. Gatekeeping is a good thing. Like making sure the right people are getting on these drugs so there aren't regret cases, there aren't botched cases. That's what we have to go towards, because right now we're going down the slippery slope of anyone can get on it. Every single person here, I'm pretty sure, just stated that they went in and walked out in an hour or less to get their hormones. And that's a huge problem, especially a child.
Because of things that have happened to
Yeah,
me,
at
I can see
15,
a
it's
future
crazy.
where transitioning for adults is banned. Like, I can, because of everything that's going on with kids.
Yeah, I think most of us are against a ban on stuff like that. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're all sitting here
obviously,
for a
but-
reason. I think I had the common ground though, because everybody here kind of
Pendulum
also admitted that we
swing.
don't have the research. And so when we don't have the research, and I'll tell you, I think that adults can do what they want, but I think we don't push forward with transitioning children until we have the research. We do the research. And this is actually what GenSpec pushes as well. GenSpec organization, they push to get more research on it. So we absolutely know what this does, because even the WPATH guidance, the latest guidance from WPATH, everything that it says even about puberty blockers, it cites a study and then it says we don't know.
To your point about gaining research, how do you expect the medical community to gain access to research if we're just preventing these folks to actually go through any of the processes to learn the scientific method of what is happening? Just like with AZT drugs, where we learned that that was actually harming us, and now we have things like Biktarvy.
Yeah, so it's the same way as we have with any research. You have a very select, very heavy gatekeeping crew that you're allowed to, create these studies around. And you need a good checklist to be like, these people show all the actual signs
Who
of gender
is
dysphoria.
smacking their
They are
lips?
having
You hear it?
very strong distress, and in every state that's passed bans
One of you bitches
on
needs some water.
access for minors also has provisions, except for in the most extreme cases, to conduct studies on.
Gender affirming transition is suicide prevention.
Look at our unified front.
There they go.
I mean, obviously, it's a known
Where
thing.
did they
that
get
trans youth
56%
are at
from?
greater risk of suicide.
Was it
and just
because
suicidal
Blossom is
ideations,
bigger?
Which are horrible and will plague you and ruin your life and make it awful. And so I know there are a lot of kids in a lot of pain. And growing up as a trans kid, I was in so much pain, and I feel like I could have been spared of a lot of that and gotten to enjoy my life a lot more if I had earlier access to gender-affirming care. And even the gender-affirming care that I did receive later in my life, and I went on hormones when I was like 16 and I got top surgery at 17, that completely changed my life in the most dramatic way. And so yeah, I think it is life-saving care, and I think a lot of trans people would agree.
I agree as well too. I think gender dysphoria is a real thing, and we all deal with gender dysphoria differently. I know for myself or whatnot, there were times I wanted to end it all. And for me, I went to desperate measures to align my body with how I feel on the inside.
Can you see my
And
face
for
through
some
the
of us,
screen right now?
especially living in the South, we don't always have access to
I
hormone
sense
care.
it.
So some of us have to
I
go
can
to the
sense
black
it.
market. We have to do things to our body to be able to align us to where we are
Exactly.
not willing to commit suicide. I don't think
the
gender,
suicide
I don't
numbers
think
are
that's
just
the
so
only way. I think there
manipulated,
are
you
other
know?
ways
Because
as
they
well,
don't,
too, but
they say that
honestly,
detrans
sometimes
suicide
people
is
just
the same
want
as
somebody
trans
that cares,
suicide.
Yeah, but people be
wants to
killing themselves
listen
all the
as
time.
part
You know who
of
has a
the
bigger problem of
regimen
killing themselves?
to,
Men.
being
Yep,
able to
exactly.
One
prevent
every
suicide.
minute.
I've
Yeah.
chosen to not medically transition in my bottom half, let's put it that way. But, and this is the first time I'm actually saying this out loud, but I am having facial feminization surgery. And that was
You need
an
hair
incredibly
removal, sir. You need
ridiculously
hair
difficult
removal.
journey, even as an adult who has a really good job and access to really great health care. But I still had to go through so many hoops, and I was still denied by insurance.
Yeah, your mental
And
health is
in my
your
own personal life,
responsibility.
I've also struggled
you know?
quite a bit with mental health, and you know, a lot of that really relates to the certain parts of my body. Like I
No
always hated
pause.
my body
Pause.
when I was younger.
Why do you feel like you're entitled to transition-related health care?
Mm-hmm.
You're not trans.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Like, why do you feel like you're entitled? You have a full beard, sir. My Stranger Things poster just fell off the wall behind me. If you heard it, I don't know.
Spooky.
But that's nice. It's my dad.
Yeah, he's
but
not trans, Stacy. He's non-binary.
yeah, and that's not covered by insurance. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I think,
okay.
on a side note, before we continue real quick, I think it's pretty fucked up that a lot of detransition care is not covered under insurance when transition care is. I think that's really sad.
Period. You made a mistake, so now you're not gonna fucking face it. Okay.
Yeah.
Understand why, and you know, and I was always dressing, you know, as like a cis male, and I just had all this stuff just didn't fit. It just didn't feel right, and it was just like this darkness in my life. Like I just wanted it, you know, gone.
Yeah, blaming other people for suicide is gaslighting.
But then eventually, like, you know, after figuring out who I am and all of that, like now I know
that is
like,
abusive.
This is life-saving care. Like this for me is life-saving care.
This
like,
is life-saving care for me.
In
like hello, narcissism alert.
Who I am and had access to care.
Yes, Andrew, please. Please give us some sense.
Too often we hear, you know, that if we don't affirm our child's, you know, gender identity that's different than their sex, then they're going to commit suicide. We hear this all the time, especially from the detransition community whose parents were told this and it was manipulative. We hear politicians say this all the time when they're trying to, you know, stop bills or pass bills.
No, I'm actually very insecure because my face is backwards.
That's the same line that abusers use. So when you're in a relationship, if you're going to leave somebody and they say, if you leave me, I'll kill myself, then that is an abusive situation. And it's not, you know, so that's the premise we start with. Transition, I mean, we're all here, we know. Transition is not an easy process. It takes a heavy mental toll. And so I really think that you have, if you're already suicidal, you have to get that in check. You have to be in a healthy place before you can even think about going through the medicalization of transitioning. You can socially transition. I think that's absolutely fine. But I think that, you know, before you even think about medically transitioning, then I think you have to have your head right before that. And hormones will make you feel kind of crazy anyways. So I think that's why, it's not.
I counted 7 holes in my walls when I patched them the first year on testosterone.
When it comes to gender-affirming care, I appreciate everything that gender-affirming care has done for me. And I thank God every day that this was the right decision for me, because I have friends like Richie who it wasn't the right decision for, and now he's missing genitals. So, you know, when it comes to it being life-saving, the reason I didn't step forward, you know, even as somebody who might agree with that prompt, is because correlation is not causation.
What do you mean by that?
Just because something is related to another thing does not mean it directly causes it.
Okay.
There's a little thing called a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And sometimes when we create a narrative, it can kind of take on a life of its own. So I know there's a lot of talk about suicide statistics in the trans community. And interestingly, almost all of those statistics come out of LGBT activist organizations who have an incentive to put those numbers out to portray this image that we are suffering greatly, we're under attack, and then all of those suicide rates are due to societal mistreatment. And when these kids are being told, like you said, when they're going into these doctors, the doctors are telling their parents essentially emotional blackmail. They're saying, trans your kid or your kid's gonna die. And they say it in front of the child. And they set up this false dichotomy as if those are the only 2 options moving forward. And here to tell any child feeling any type of way, those are not your only 2 options. In fact, there is a vast array of options in between and around suicide in transition. Therapists and doctors aren't even legally allowed to say, no, you're not trans, you're actually experiencing A, B, or C. And that's the case with detrans people as well. They have this huge host of issues: depression, body dysmorphia, anorexia, eating disorders, maybe sexual abuse in their past. People don't know that a symptom, a long observed symptom of sexual abuse is wanting to be the other gender to cope with it.
So
This has been in textbooks forever. So I just think, I'll wrap it up really quickly. I just think it's a false dichotomy that it's either death or transition. But with that said, I agree with you. I appreciate everything that transition's done for me, but it's too much of a roll of the dice, and I think it's unhealthy telling people, do it or you're gonna die, especially a child.
So for the LGBTQ organizations, we also have to remember that they are relying on reputable resources. And a lot of those reputable
Sarah
resources
and Blair, both so
are
brilliant.
the medical research that has been put out
real.
there. So all they can do is take that information and be able to disseminate that into the community. And to be quite honest with you, hold on just a second. To be quite honest with you, and let's also be clear that these researchers are also collaborating with these organizations because they are the ones that have the most outreach to the community that they need to serve, which is the trans community, because oftentimes the reason why nonprofit grassroots organizations are created in the first place is because there was no place for us. And so it is really hard to get that research to be able to do that. We can agree to disagree, but the research has not been completely fulfilled yet because a lot of these people don't even know about our experience, and that is why it's important that we make it very clear what we need to do.
There's also, speaking of the numbers that come out of LGBT activist organizations, there was a little number that the life expectancy of a trans woman was 35. That was rescinded a couple years ago after like over a decade of that being like just factually, shared. And I always thought that my life was statistically gonna end at 35. So, but those numbers were based on, by those organizations, prostitute deaths. So it's not always the most reputable numbers they're getting, you know what I mean? And these activist organizations are political too. We get caught up in calling them activists and we think it's this emotional, spiritual thing, but they are political organizations.
Yeah, so I am an activist, and so a lot of what you're talking about really was focused more
Oh,
on
I would have
Black
never
trans
guessed that
women,
you're an
because Black
activist,
trans
Blossom.
women do not live past the age of 35 because oftentimes it is
Never.
our group within the trans community
Really?
that's often murdered. We're often harassed. We're often discriminated
Zach
against.
says
and
her
so a lot
argument
more
isn't
of that focus has
scientific
had to be
because
around
people killing
Black,
themselves
brown,
isn't meant to
indigenous folks,
able to be
because
replicated, and so
oftentimes
relating the
the
treatment to
research goes
suicide
missing
rate is
for us.
suicide.
And prostitutes, though. That was the source of the
But
stat.
see, the thing is, though, even when we talk about prostitutes, trans women
I'm gonna
have to
use that in my
sometimes
next stand-up
participate in
comedy
sex work
thing.
to
Yeah,
survive.
But they based it on
That was
cis
funny.
prostitutes. Sorry, I'm done. It was just, it was a false number.
So from what I understand is, a lot of that focus has always been around Black trans women.
Hey,
because
I have
they
to
do
turn
not
my
get to see the
fucking
age of
headphones down
35.
when she's
You are in a
speaking.
place,
She is
when
too
I say
loud.
privilege, you're in a place of privilege where you do not have to worry about the harassment and the discrimination that I face. I face as a Black person. I face as a
We're
Black
not gonna
person.
get
I'm
into
not going to
that.
say that you do not
There-
experience harassment or
oh my
discrimination.
God,
That's
there
not
it
what
is
I'm saying,
again.
Because like you said, you're a
This
person.
isn't
I'm a
black
Black
people versus
person.
white people.
When I
Yep,
come
gotta
as
make
a
it
person
about
as a
race.
Black
white
trans
people.
woman,
Of
you and I do not
course.
get
This
to
is
have
trans
that
people
same
versus
experience.
trans people.
There are
You went
more
to the
rooms-
White House,
there are-
I didn't.
There are more rooms that you get to walk in that I will be forbidden in. And one
This
thing
woman
about it is that's why
keeps-
it's
is being
important.
so
Like
heavily
someone like
replayed,
me
and I'm
has
like,
to
can she
create her
please
own
shut up?
space to be able to
did I.
counteract what you're doing. And I'm
So
not
did I.
saying, and I'm not saying
No,
that
you didn't.
don't.
You did
But
not
what I'm
create
saying
this
here
space.
is what I'm
All
trying
you
to
are
get
is
you
a
to understand
puppet.
is
Yeah.
You just
my
regurgitate
blackness
nonsense.
should not have to pay
Yeah.
for your whiteness that
That doesn't make
is
sense.
destroying
What the fuck does that mean?
my community.
Like what?
I'm
because of
destroying your
privilege.
community.
So are you gonna tell all of my exes
How are you gonna
that?
say that and then that's the end?
What you're talking about too is there's not the research. You're right, there's not. Everybody likes to cite the Turbin study, and Jack Turbin is a complete activist. You can just go to his Twitter account and see how actively involved he is in this and how financially.
sorry, what was his name?
Jack Turbin.
Okay.
And you can see how much he's financially gained off of this
You
study.
seem like
And
so
the issue is
invested.
the study is based on a survey. And so it's based on a survey of adults. And so when you're doing surveys are not scientifically accurate. They're the least accurate way to do a study. And so when we're basing all this medical care off of a survey, it's a huge issue. And it doesn't serve, it doesn't really, and that's what they're citing to prove that, gender affirming care reduces suicidality.
My question is, if they're using a survey in terms of how they're gathering data, what do you suggest them to use a tool then to gather data? Because from my understanding, a lot of those surveys are actually more accurate because folks are actually not in front of somebody, so they're more comfortable to answer these questions.
How about this?
Again, we can have a
How about
difference of
this?
opinion, but what
Let's just
tool
stop
then do you
using
suggest
surveys.
folks use if
Can
they're
we
not
just stop
using a
using the
survey then?
statistics?
How do you gain that data?
Can we
Well,
just
you're
do the
talking
right
to
thing?
therapists who can speak not,
Because that would be
they
cool.
can't violate HIPAA, but they can
Thanks.
give statistics on their patients. You can look at see how many people have entered into facilities because they were suicidal on that, and then you can go back and see if we gave these same people gender affirming care, how did it help them? Because I see a lot of, again, go back to the detransition community, because we affirm their gender so much. There's so much, they're now having issues. They're contemplating suicide at a higher level as well.
Great.
I enjoyed this debate for what it was. It was quite ugly at certain points, and I wish that it was all trans people on the panel, because that would have been more appropriate and more fitting.
Wow. You're so offensive. You're an offensive person, human being.
Okay.
Just so
Well,
you know.
I find a lot of things over here offensive as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're disgusting.
And I have to,
Bye.
trust me, the feeling is more than mutual.
You see me? I'm
but
just
I will say that
bearing,
it was very
bearing,
enlightening,
bearing.
and I hope to be back at Jubilee soon.
I definitely think this was interesting. Obviously, I don't think we have a lot of common ground on a lot of things, but I think we found some. I think what most conservatives in general believe is, as an adult, you can do what you want with your body. I talk to conservatives all the time. We don't allow children to make decisions for themselves on a wide range of issues, and that's why we don't let them, mutilate their bodies.
I mean, it was educational, enlightening. I got to learn a lot, and it's nice meeting you.
I liked hearing the different perspectives, and I feel like even though I'm definitely
Yeah, that
in my
was savage
beliefs,
out the
I
gate, for
understand
sure.
where things come from. I just do not agree saying that everybody on
dead
this panel
silence.
is not trans. I think it's bullshit, and I think you're trans and you're a part of my community.
Thank you.
Yep.
I really appreciate it.
Yep.
I, despite all of the madness, enjoyed conversation with all of y'all. I love debates. We don't have to agree with each other, but these conversations need to continue happening.
I see what
because
she was
they're not
talking about,
happening
how they
anywhere else.
they didn't give her mic
And
back.
So until we're all creating more platforms around this for ourselves, so other people can understand, then let's keep at it.
I mean, honestly, regardless of my interaction with Blair here today, we are all, for the most part, I think,
If
mostly
they cut
in
mine
echo
out,
chamber
I'm gonna
in our own
sue.
lives. So it's nice, actually, to be in front of all these people, especially the ones who don't see the things the way I do, because it also opens my eyes to see, maybe I could rethink X, Y, Z, or maybe there's something I learned today. I'm not closed off to learning something new or to changing my mind, because I've done that before and I can do that again, and I will evolve as a human being.
All I have to
Me
say
too.
to the general public is start thinking of reasons why you supported doing this to kids.
And to that point,
Yes.
Come on,
Conclusion.
it's just, I'm hoping that folks will be able to understand why the activism is there and what it is, because generally there may be mistakes made in that light, but at the end of the day, we are, as trans people, trying to gain access to society in a healthy, safe way, and also see a future for ourselves, which is something that I never had access to with the way that I grew up in a lot of that ideology of not being allowed to do things when I was 18, even though I knew exactly.
Wow. That was something.
I think we should pay the $3 so we can see the extended version. Because that sex ed prompt was like the best one.
Oh, really?
I think we should pay the $3.
I mean, I am down to watch that with you later, but I mean, I don't know if they would come after me for putting it on my YouTube channel when they have a paywall for it. But I definitely encourage you to watch it, since you're in it, and and let me know,
I
and
forgot about that.
I can watch
That's
it with
fucking
you later.
ratchet.
Yeah.
That's so ratchet.
I mean, that's okay, but
That's so
I think you should, just because you deserve to see everything they edited on you. But
Yeah.
So
it's
what do you think? Do you think it was pretty accurate as far as editing goes?
I mean, in terms of the debate, that went a lot better than I thought they were gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
They did pretty good. I am proud of the Jubilee editors on this. Let me be real, okay? I thank Jubilee for the opportunity. That was really fun. They took me to LA for the first time in my life. I'll never go back.
Yeah.
Um,
What was it like going to LA?
It was scary. So I live in Augusta, Georgia. It's not, it's not the safest city, but it's certainly safe. It's a nice city. It's very historic, beautiful. You know,
Mhm.
going to LA, I heard shots within 30 minutes of being there. Okay. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Literally. Because here we have a giant mouth breathing dad on every corner.
Yeah.
So, and they're loaded up with 17 shotguns in the closet. So people just don't try stuff like that around here. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a good idea.
Right.
So, it was gross. LA was gross. Anyway, the debate was, there were some moments that are definitely missing, but, again, it was a 3-hour shoot. There was so much that just couldn't be in there. I'm surprised they managed to get out most of my curse words. I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's tough editing for YouTube in that regard. I just appreciate you doing this with me. If anyone in the chat has any questions for Andrew,
yeah, let's see.
Probably go for another like 10 minutes or so. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it a lot.
How many people are in the chat? I can't see.
Right now 11. I think at peak we had like 30.
Oh, hell yeah. Cool. Yeah, they didn't get tired of us.
it was a long stream, so
they didn't get tired of us. It's okay, it happens. Yeah, no, that was certainly something else. I mean, let's see. I know my Instagram's blowing up right now, but I ain't got the capacity for that right now.
Yeah, you're a celebrity now.
Right now.
You got famous friends.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't like to look at it that way.
Go ahead.
I don't want to be friends with Blair because she's famous. I want to be friends with Blair because she changed my life.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm just kidding. I think it's
or like Sarah. Sarah's just fucking awesome.
We're all just people on this planet. That's how I found Andrew, actually, because of Sarah. So I'm really happy that she connected us.
She's jumped out of a perfectly good plane.
Really? Oh my god. I mean, I'm gonna, after this, probably when I get off, I gotta text her and tell her how great she did. But I also gotta thank her for her service, which I've never done.
Yes, definitely. I believe she was airborne, actually, like the whole time, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty fucking badass. I like to, like, that's a trans woman. I used to have a client, and I don't know if she would want me saying her name just because of what she does for a living, but I cut her grass. She transitioned in like her 40s or whatever. Beautiful woman, you know what I'm saying? And she's like served in Afghanistan, just like an overall really cool lady, like old school rock star, drives a like badass motorcycle, like that's the kind of trans woman that these kids need to be looking up to right now.
Yes, for sure.
Like,
yeah, I think there are too many influencers out there that are targeting kids that don't talk about the severity of transition too. So I think, in that regard, people like Sarah and Blair are really important.
Yeah,
Zach says, I have a lot of questions, but they aren't appropriate for stream. Yes,
well,
unfortunately on YouTube we have to stay PG, of course.
No, you can message me. I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is the Trans Conservative, and I should be linked down below somewhere, I think.
Yep, I have his links down below. If you want to give him a follow, please do, guys. And thanks again for everybody being here with me today.
Yeah, I as you guys can probably tell, I don't know about YouTube. I never really was a YouTube kid. I actually, when I was big in my start back in the day, I was on Musical.ly.
Yeah. Wow, nice.
That's how old I am. So.
Oh my god, you're not old. He's saying he's old, and over here I'm like 10 years older.
Really?
I'm 10 years older than you. Wait, no. I'm 31 right now.
Oh. Well, yeah.
So.
Means you probably got your life together by now.
You'd think.
Not in this world.
I have
not with
my
this
mental.
president.
I would say that I am the most mentally stable I've ever been in my entire life. And if I could just get some money, things would be great. So as far as mental stability goes, I'm actually really good. So for that, I have grown up quite a bit. It does get better. I mean, you know, I'm watching the world burn all around me, and I'm watching people be asleep as fuck about what's going on. But you know, at least I can find peace in knowing that I know
maybe you
what's
should do what
going
I
on.
do. The whole world can be burning around you, and you're just hugging trees. Just
That's
hug the
true.
Trees. Just hug the trees.
We love that Andrew hugs trees.
Yeah, I was thinking about starting a portfolio at work of me hugging trees, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Because I have so many trees that I've planted in my career that could just, like, use a hug, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm gonna rephrase this question. But he did use your correct pronouns. Did yeehaw? He asked if you were ever. It's a personal question, very personal. He asked if you were ever like hurt in a bathroom growing up, during or before your transition.
I mean, no. If anything, it like I wish the fuck. Okay. I wish the fuck. Okay, I grew up gay. Okay. Like, I am 100% certain that I could have taken Blossom that day. There's not a doubt in my mind. So no, nothing, no. No, I'm just a dude.
That's good that you weren't like bullied in high school or anything like that.
Actually, I was popular. Like, this was before the recent shit, so like this was like that sweet spot. So I was like fairly popular in high school.
Nice, there you go.
Like, I played sports, I was in ROTC, I did marching band, like, you know, I certainly did not have a bad high school experience at all. And I love Lakeside High School.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that.
You know, and just because I dropped out, it doesn't mean that I hold any resentment towards my school. It was just simply the fact that I was working 50 hours a week. I was going nuts.
Hey, no judgments from me, hon.
I was on the verge of a literal psychotic break.
Yep.
A psychotic break. It was during COVID. It was. I worked at I don't know if you guys have one. It's called Logan's Roadhouse.
Oh yeah, Logan's has some of the best like cinnamon rolls or like.
Yeah, no, don't touch that food.
Oh, rip. Okay.
No.
I haven't had it in years, so.
And I wish y'all would try and sue me for slander to Logan's Roadhouse because I'm calling you out. I have pictures of roaches that could have fought me in one.
Oh my god.
One came out of the host stand one day and shot me a bird.
No way. That is. Oh my god. Like
because you got to remember these. Oh my god. Like it is those were like the babies are like. And it's just, I mean, I don't know how it is in Atlanta. I will say this, but in Augusta, it's just atrocious. And I don't know if they've changed since I worked there. It has been a few years, but you have to remember this entire restaurant, and most of them are made of wood.
Yeah.
That's waterbug heaven.
Good to know.
Like, so no, I would not touch a Logan's Roadhouse.
I mean, it makes so much sense, though, because they throw peanuts on the floor, right?
I mean, the servers are actually usually pretty good about keeping their sections clean. It's just like the entire restaurant is made of lumber.
Yeah.
Like, that's where they like to live. Okay, and then when, you know, under all of the booth, there's 40-year-old tax documents, like, and that nobody's looked at since 1984. It's just like...
yeah, that's wild.
It's gross.
Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate
like general
that
public
a lot.
Waffle House is a very, very clean establishment.
Really?
It's one of the strictest first jobs that I've ever had. Very strict.
Okay, Waffle House. You know, I ran across one last thing before we get off. I speaking of Waffle House, I was on TikTok the other day and I ran across a couple of Scene Kids Zoomers. And I don't know how the conversation got to Waffle House, but this is how the Zoomers see Waffle House. They say, in there, it smells like elbow grease and a misdemeanor, but it tastes legit. And I was like,
okay,
that's a pretty good description.
I don't know. Like, I have good memories of working at Waffle House. Like, I will never say anything bad about Waffle House. I love it.
That food is pretty good. In fact, earlier my brother's like, "Do you want to go to Waffle House? You want breakfast?" And like, we didn't want to sit down.
It's not unhealthy. It's not unhealthy at all. In
I love a good
to places
grits and
like
eggs.
McDonald's.
Hell yeah.
It's not, and it's like it's wholesome breakfast food. You know, when I walk into a Waffle House, I think of like like an old school diner and like just like the simplicity of it, and you can put your fucking cell phone away and be a regular person for a second.
Hell yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know if people remember, but there was a time before we had these things.
For sure.
How do they think our parents like survived? Like, because I know I'm directionally challenged. Like, I don't know if I would be able to get some places without my GPS. So like, you know, and they don't make fucking paper maps no more.
That's true. I feel like I have a rare ability to read a map. I can read a map. I feel like that's a rare talent.
I mean, I can read a map. It's just good luck fucking finding one.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, and that's just all there is to it. Like, I mean, they don't sell them in Walmart anymore like they used to. Like, they'd have individual town maps, and, you know, like, I know the one near my house still sells guns. No maps, though. Fucking idiots. Like, what happens if... I mean, I know there's no woods around here anymore, but what happens if somebody gets lost in the woods? You know what I'm saying? Like... I mean, people used to have to use compasses. I know that's crazy, but, like, even in, like, the 80s, 90s sometimes. It's just, you know, welcome to our modern world. We're living in a damn... If we took away cell phones and damn automatic transmissions, our whole generation, my whole generation, dead. All of them.
Yep. Probably.
But, you know...
Anyway.
Hey. But, do we have any questions? I can't see the chat, so
Any more questions, you guys?
I don't know. I will say it was just an interesting experience all around. And, you know, clown guy, I hope we can still be friends.
Wherever you are.
Yeah. Whatever Sephora makeup journey you're on this week.
I can't even remember what his name was. I don't even remember.
I don't know. I vaguely know a Sasha. Vaguely.
Yeah,
Very,
I think
very
that was
vaguely.
the kid.
Yeah, that's the one. And then like I obviously knew of Sarah and I knew of Blair. I did not know they were coming, so naturally I should have bricked. But
what a pleasant
you know,
surprise. Yeah, I'm so happy that
I was like, my jaw hit the fucking floor.
It's awesome.
I was terrified.
I'd be psyched for sure, but I can understand how you might be a little starstruck.
Yeah, so we're about to get on Rabbit later and watch this part fucking whatever.
Sure.
Because I'm pissed off.
No, I mean
that was the deepest prompt.
You should
like,
watch it. Let me know how it is. You know, I'm not gonna hold you
That was
up,
the only one where Blossom wasn't a complete, like, an utter nuisance to society.
All right, guys, I'm gonna end it here. Thanks again so much, Andrew.
Of course. And it was nice to be here. And it's good to watch it with you for the first time. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, next time I fly to a debate, it won't be in LA. So.
I could only hope.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
And if I do, then no. Actually, no. Never mind. We're just not gonna do it. All right, y'all. Everyone, have a good night. Be safe. Be blessed.
Take care, everybody.
Don't do